Hello everyone, and welcome to the Beast fanfic. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Goku was the Avatar and mastered the elements with the help of Toph Beifong. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Chapter 1. The Awakening. The first rays of dawn stretched across the small island, painting the modest house and surrounding palm trees in hues of gold and amber. Son Goku's eyes snapped open before Master Roshi's alarm could sound. Something felt different today, an electric current running beneath his skin, a humming in his bones that hadn't been there when he'd fallen asleep. Rising silently from his futon, Goku slipped outside without waking his sleeping master. At 20 years old, he no longer resembled the wild-haired boy who had first arrived on the island 5 years ago. Though still compact in frame, his body had transformed into a perfect instrument of martial prowess, each muscle defined yet flowing seamlessly into the next, moving with a grace that belied the devastating power they contained. The ocean breeze ruffled his unruly black hair as he began his morning routine. 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 squats, merely the warm-up before his real training began. As his body moved through the familiar exercises, his mind wandered to the strange dreams that had plagued him throughout the night, visions of people he'd never met performing impossible feats with fire, water, earth, and air. "You're up early," came a gravelly voice from behind him. Goku completed his final push-up before turning to face Master Roshi. The old man stood in the doorway of Kame House, his CG nature sunglasses and turtle shell already in place despite the early hour. "Couldn't sleep," Goku replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "Had weird dreams again." Master Roshi's expression remained neutral, but something flickered behind his sunglasses, concern, perhaps, or recognition. "The same ones. Yeah, people moving rocks without touching them. Shooting fire from their hands. Making water dance." Goku stretched his arms overhead, his face brightening. "And then I was doing it too. It felt so real, Master. Like I could actually." He extended his hand toward the shoreline, half expecting the water to rise at his command. Nothing happened, of course. Goku laughed, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "Guess dreams are just dreams, huh?" Master Roshi didn't laugh. Instead, he stroked his beard contemplatively, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the rising sun set the ocean ablaze. "Perhaps," he said finally. "Or perhaps they're memories. Memories. But I've never done any of that stuff. Not in this lifetime, no." Before Goku could question this cryptic statement, Master Roshi turned and shuffled back into the house. "Come, breakfast first, then training. Today we try something new." Goku's confusion evaporated at the mention of food. He bounded after his master, thoughts of strange dreams temporarily forgotten in favor of the promise of a hearty meal. Breakfast was a quiet affair, punctuated only by the sounds of Goku's enthusiastic eating. Master Roshi picked at his own food, watching his student with an inscrutable expression. When the last grain of rice had been consumed and the dishes cleared away, the old master led Goku to the back of the island, to a small clearing surrounded by palm trees. "Today," Master Roshi announced, "we will not be focusing on key manipulation as we usually do." Goku tilted his head. "No energy blasts, no flying, no. Today, we focus on something more elemental." Master Roshi removed his turtle shell and set it carefully against a tree. "What do you know about bending, Goku?" "Bending?" Goku scratched his head. "Like bending your knees in a fighting stance." Master Roshi sighed heavily. "I sometimes forget how isolated your upbringing was." "No, Goku. Elemental bending. The art of controlling earth, fire, water, or air through martial arts movements." "Oh, like in my dreams." Goku's eyes widened. "That's a real thing. People can actually do that." "Indeed. For thousands of years, certain individuals have been born with the ability to manipulate one of the four elements. The skill is quite common in the four nations, though less so in the outlying regions where you were raised." Master Roshi adjusted his sunglasses. "And then, there is the Avatar." "Avatar," Goku repeated, testing the unfamiliar word. "The Avatar is a single individual born with the ability to master all four elements, serving as the bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds." When an avatar dies, their spirit is reincarnated into the next nation in the cycle: fire, air, water, earth. Goku listened with uncharacteristic attentiveness, feeling something resonate deep within him at the old master's words. But, Master Roshi continued, the last known avatar disappeared over 100 years ago, during the chaos of the Great War. Many believe the cycle was broken, the avatar spirit lost forever. And, what does this have to do with our training? Goku asked, though something in his gut told him he already knew the answer. Master Roshi fixed him with a penetrating stare. I believe you, Son Goku, are the current avatar. Silence fell between them, broken only by the distant crash of waves against the shore and the rustle of palm fronds in the morning breeze. Goku stared at his master, waiting for the punchline to what surely must be a joke. When none came, he burst into laughter. Me, the avatar, master, I can't even bend one element, let alone four. That's because you've never tried, Master Roshi said simply. Your extraordinary ability to manipulate ki, life energy, is not separate from bending but intertwined with it. Most people can access one or the other. You, I suspect, can access both. Goku's laughter subsided, replaced by uncertainty. But, how can you know that? I've had my suspicions since you first came to me. Your connection to nature, your intuitive understanding of energy flow, your dreams. And then there's this. Master Roshi reached into his pocket and produced a small, weathered scroll. This arrived yesterday from an old colleague at the Eastern Air Temple. He unrolled the scroll, revealing an ancient painting of a young man surrounded by swirling elements: earth, fire, water, and air moving in harmony around his centered form. The figure's face was indistinct, faded by time, but there was something in the wild hair, the powerful stance, the determined expression that seemed eerily familiar. This is a prophetic vision recorded by Avenue Ader Yangshan over 400 years ago, Master Roshi explained. She foresaw a time when the avatar cycle would be disrupted, then restored in an individual who would unite the ancient arts of Ben Ding with the forgotten power of ki manipulation. Goku stared at the painting, an uncomfortable prickling sensation creeping up his spine. And, you think that's me? I do. And today, we will test that theory. Master Roshi moved to the center of the clearing. We begin with the element most aligned with your natural energy, fire. For the next several hours, Master Roshi guided Goku through forms and stances he'd never attempted before. They were similar to his martial arts training in some ways, yet profoundly different in others, focused not on external force but internal connection, not on expelling energy but on becoming a conduit for it. By midday, Goku was drenched in sweat and growing frustrated. Despite his best efforts, not so much as a spark had manifested from his extended fists or sweeping kicks. I don't think this is working, Master, he admitted, dropping to sit cross-legged on the ground. Maybe you're wrong about me being the avatar. Master Roshi shook his head. The connection is there, but something is blocking it. Perhaps. Before he could finish, the peaceful atmosphere of the island was shattered by a deafening boom. Both master and student leapt to their feet as a sleek metal airship appeared in the sky above them, bearing the distinctive insignia of the Fire Nation military. What are they doing here? Goku asked, instinctively dropping into a defensive stance. Master Roshi's expression darkened. Nothing good, I suspect. The Fire Nation has grown increasingly aggressive in recent months, especially toward independent territories like this island. The airship descended until it hovered just offshore. A voice amplified by technology echoed across the water. Attention residents of Kame Island. This territory is now under the protection of the Fire Nation. Submit to inspection and registration, or face the consequences. Protection, Master Roshi scoffed. A pretty word for occupation. A smaller craft detached from the airship and headed toward the shore, carrying a half-dozen soldiers in crimson armor. At their head stood a tall figure whose elaborate uniform and confident bearing marked him as their commander. Stay behind me, Goku, Master Roshi instructed, moving toward the shore to meet the approaching soldiers. Goku frowned. But Master, I can help. Not yet. We don't know what they want. The small craft touched down on the beach, and the soldiers disembarked with military precision. Their commander, a middle-aged man with sharp features and calculating eyes, approached with his hands clasped behind his back. Master Roshi, he greeted with a slight bow that contained more mockery than respect. The turtle hermit himself. It's an honor. Commander Zhao, Master Roshi replied coolly. What brings the Fire Nation to my humble island? Intelligence reports suggest unusual energy signatures emanating from this location. Zhao's gaze shifted to Goku, who stood tensely behind his master. Energy that might be connected to certain ancient powers we're investigating. My student and I practice energy manipulation, as we have for years, Master Roshi said. Nothing unusual about that. Zhao smiled thinly. Perhaps. But in these uncertain times, the Fire Nation must ensure all potential resources are properly documented. He snapped his fingers, and two soldiers stepped forward with scanning devices. A simple inspection, nothing more. And if we refuse? Master Roshi asked. Then we must assume you have something to hide. Zhao's smile vanished. The Fire Lord's patience with independent operators grows thin. Master Roshi, particularly those rumored to possess knowledge of the Avatar cycle. The tension in the air thickened. Goku's fists clenched at his sides, his HTING instinct screaming that this man was dangerous, not just to him and Master Roshi, but to the balance of the world itself. We have nothing to hide, Master Roshi said finally, stepping aside. Quote, conduct your inspection and be on your way. The soldiers moved forward with their devices, which emitted soft beeping sounds as they swept over the island. One approached Goku, holding out a scanner. That immediately began to whine at a higher pitch. Sir, the soldier called to Zhao, I'm getting unusual readings from this subject. Zhao's eyes narrowed as he approached. What's your name, boy? Son Goku, he answered, meeting the commander's gaze without flinching. And what exactly are you training in under Master Roshi's tutelage? Martial arts, Goku replied simply. Just martial arts, Zhao pressed, circling him slowly. No special techniques, no unusual abilities, just getting stronger, Goku said with a shrug, though his muscles remained coiled, ready for action. Zhao stopped directly in front of him, close enough that Goku could smell the faint scent of smoke that seemed to cling to all firebenders. You know, there's a rumor circulating in certain circles. Rumor about a young man with extraordinary potential. A young man who might be more than he appears. Goku said nothing, but he felt something stirring inside him, a warmth that began in his core and spread outward. Like the first flickers of a flame seeking oxygen. Commander, one of the soldiers called from near Kame House. We've found something. Zhao turned away, and Goku exhaled slowly, the strange warmth receding. He exchanged a concerned glance with Master Roshi as they followed the Fire Nation contingent to the house. The soldier held up a small wooden box carved with ancient symbols. Hidden beneath the floorboards. Sir, Master Roshi stepped forward. That's a family heirloom, nothing more. Then you won't mind if we examine it, Zhao said, taking the box from the soldier. He studied the symbols carved into the wood, his expression sharpening with recognition. These are Avatar relics, symbols of the four elements intertwined. He looked up at Master Roshi, triumph gleaming in his eyes. Possession of such items without proper authorization is strictly prohibited under Fire Nation decree. This island is not Fire Nation territory, Master Roshi countered. It is now. Zhao handed the box to one of his subordinates. And you, Master Roshi, are under arrest for possession of restricted artifacts and suspected conspiracy against the Fire Nation. What? Goku stepped forward, anger flaring. You can't do that. I can and I will. Zhao snapped his fingers, and four soldiers moved to surround Master Roshi. Resist, and this entire island will be reduced to ash. Master Roshi raised a hand to stop Goku from intervening. It's all right, my boy. This is not the time for fighting. But Master, remember your training, Master Roshi said meaningfully. All of it, especially today's lesson. As the soldiers began to lead Master Roshi away, Zhao turned back to Goku. You're coming with us as well. The Fire Lord's scientists will be very interested in those energy readings. I don't think so, came a new voice from behind them. Everyone turned to see a young woman standing at the edge of the clearing, blue hair whipping in the sea breeze. She wore a fitted jacket over cargo pants, with various technological devices strapped to her belt and a determined expression on her face. Bulma briefs, Zhao said, sounding more annoyed than surprised. The meddling scientist. I should have known you'd be involved in this. And I should have known you'd be trampling all over jurisdiction again, Zhao. Bulma held up a small device that projected an official-looking hologram. By authority of the United Republic Science Council, I'm here to investigate the same energy anomalies you're so interested in. And according to the Republic Fire Nation Treaty of 103 AG, scientific jurisdiction takes precedence over military in non-combat situations. Zhao's face flushed with anger. This is a Fire Nation security operation. On neutral territory, Bulma interrupted. With no declared state of emergency. My credentials and authorization are in order. Unless you want an international incident, you'll back off. For a tense moment, it seemed Zhao might order his soldiers to attack. Then, with visible effort, he controlled himself. Take the old man and the artifacts, he commanded his soldiers. The boy and the scientist can wait, for now. You're not taking Master Roshi anywhere. Goku stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. Goku. Don't, Master Roshi began, but it was too late. Two soldiers grabbed Master Roshi's arms, while another pointed a flame-ready fist at his head. Stand down, boy, or the old man gets burned. Something snapped inside Goku. The warmth that had been building in his core suddenly exploded outward. A rushing torrent of energy unlike anything he'd felt before. It wasn't the familiar flow of ki. This was rawer, more primal, connected not just to his own life force but to the world around him. I said, Goku repeated. His voice resonating strangely as wind began to whip around the clearing, you're not taking him anywhere. The ground beneath their feet trembled. The nearby ocean churned and rose in unnatural waves. Small stones and debris began to lift into the air around Goku's feet. What is this? Zhao demanded, taking an involuntary step back. What are you doing? Bulma's eyes widened, as she checked the readings on her device. Incredible, she whispered. It's really him. Goku felt the power building, changing, transforming him from within. His vision blurred, then sharpened beyond normal acuity. He could sense every molecule of air, every grain of sand, every drop of water around him. And most of all, he could feel the fire, not just in the flames that now burst from Zhao's and his soldiers' hands in defensive stances, but in the sun above, in the core of the earth below, in his own beating heart. With a roar that seemed to contain the voices of countless others, Goku thrust his hands forward. Fire erupted from his palms. Not the controlled flames of trained firebenders, but a wild conflagration that split and curled around Master Roshi, targeting only the soldiers who held him. They cried out in shock and pain, releasing their captive and stumbling backward. The Avatar. One of them shouted, he's the Avatar. Zhao's expression transformed from anger to calculating avarice. Secure him, he ordered. Use the suppression techniques. 3 soldiers moved in formation, executing synchronized firebending forms that sent concentrated blasts toward Goku from multiple angles. In his normal state, Goku might have dodged or blocked with key techniques. But in this new, heightened awareness, he responded instinctively with movements he'd never learned but somehow knew. He swept his arms in circular motions, drawing the incoming fire around his body before redirecting it outward in an expanding ring that forced the soldiers back. When 2 more attacked with fire whips, Goku stomped the ground. And a wall of earth erupted before him, blocking their assault before he punched forward, sending chunks of the barrier flying toward his attackers. This is impossible, Zhao hissed, backing toward his landing craft. The Avatar cycle was broken. The Fire Lord assured us. Your Fire Lord was wrong, Master Roshi said, now standing tall despite his age. His own formidable ki energy creating a visible aura around him. The Avatar has returned, and you would be wise to leave while you still can. Zhao hesitated, clearly torn between his mission and self-preservation. Finally, practicality won out. Fall back, he ordered his troops. Return to the airship. As the Fire Nation soldiers retreated, Goku remained in his heightened state, eyes glowing with unearthly light. The elements still responding to his unconscious commands. Wind whipped around him, small flames danced across his fingertips, the ground continued to tremble, and water from Th. Nearby shore rose in undulating tendrils. Goku. Master Roshi approached cautiously. You need to calm yourself. Control the power, don't let it control you. But Goku seemed locked in the Avatar state. Unreachable through normal means. Let me try, Bulma stepped forward, her scientific curiosity apparently overriding any fear. She approached Goku slowly, holding out her scanner. Goku, can you hear me? I'm Bulma Briefs. I'm here to help you understand what's happening. The glowing eyes fixed on her, and for a moment, the elemental chaos intensified. Then, something in Bulma's straightforward, unafraid approach seemed to reach him. The glow began to fade, the elements gradually calming as Goku's consciousness reasserted control. What happened? Goku asked as he returned fully to himself, swaying slightly. I felt like I was me, but also, thousands of other people, all at once. You entered the Avatar state, Master Roshi explained, relief evident in his voice. He most powerful form an Avatar can take, drawing on the skills and knowledge of all previous Avatars. So it's true, I really am the Avatar. Goku looked down at his hands in wonder. The readings are unmistakable, Bulma confirmed, checking her device. Multiple elemental energy signatures, all emanating from a single source. Classic Avatar energy pattern, just like in the historical records, but with something extra. A secondary energy signature I've never seen before. Master Roshi supplied. Goku is not just an Avatar, he's the first Avatar in recorded history to fully integrate ki manipulation with elemental bending. Quote, Goku sat heavily on a nearby rock, trying to process this revelation. But why me? And why am I only discovering this now? Master Roshi sighed deeply. I suspect your grandfather knew. Or at least suspected. Gohan was a scholar of ancient traditions before he became a hermit. He may have recognized signs in you from an early age and deliberately raised you away from the four nations to protect you until you were ready. Ready for what? To fulfill your destiny as the Avatar. Master Roshi retrieved the wooden box that had fallen to the ground during the confrontation. This belonged to your grandfather. He entrusted it to me before he died, with instructions to give it to you when the time was right. He opened the box, revealing 4 small items nestled in velvet. A piece of rough stone, a vial of water, a preserved leaf, and a tiny glass container holding what appeared to be embers. Elemental samples from the 4 nations, Bulma identified them, scanning the box. Traditional tools for identifying Avatar potential in children. Gohan must have used these to confirm his suspicions when you were young, Master Roshi said. But he chose to keep that knowledge from you, and from the world, until you were ready to bear the responsibility. Goku picked up the stone, turning it over in his palm. It felt warm, alive somehow, responding to his touch in a way ordinary rocks never had. So what happens now? Now, Bulma said, her eyes bright with excitement, you learn to master the elements. All 4 of them. But I don't even know where to start, Goku admitted. Whatever just happened. I wasn't controlling it, it was controlling me. You start as all Avatars do, Master Roshi said. By learning each element in the proper sequence. Water, earth, fire, and air. But we have to move quickly, Bulma added, glancing anxiously at the retreating Fire Nation airship. Zhao will report what he saw here today. Fire Lord has been searching for the Avatar for years, not to help train you, but to control or eliminate you. Why would they want to do that? Goku asked. Because the Avatar represents balance, Master Roshi explained. And the Fire Nation under Lord Ozai has been systematically upsetting that balance, expanding their territory and influence through intimidation and force. An Avatar fully realized in their power would be the only individual capable of checking that expansion. And it's not just the Fire Nation you need to worry about, Bulma added. There are other factions who will be very interested in an Avatar who can manipulate ki as well as elements. My research suggests that combination could be, unprecedented in its potential. Goku stood, a new determination settling over him. The initial shock was passing, replaced by a familiar feeling, the excitement of a new challenge, a new frontier of strength to explore. Then I'd better start learning, he said with a grin that contained equal parts innocence and resolve. Who's going to teach me? Master Roshi and Bulma exchanged glances. I've taught you all I can about ki manipulation, Master Roshi said. But for elemental bending, you'll need proper masters, the best in each discipline. I might be able to help with that, Bulma offered. My research has brought me into contact with bending masters from all 4 nations. I know where to find them, including one who might be particularly suited to teaching someone like you. Someone like me, Bulma smiled. Someone who learns through action rather than theory. Someone who needs a teacher as stubborn and unconventional as they are. She checked her scanner again, which was still registering Goku's unusual energy signature. Have you ever heard of Toph Beifong, the Earthbender? Master Roshi's eyebrows rose. She hasn't taken a student in decades. She might make an exception for the Avatar, Bulma said. Especially one who needs to learn quickly. Toph Beifong, Goku repeated, testing the name. Where do we find her? Jailing, in the Earth Kingdom, Bulma replied. But we need to move fast. Once word spreads about what happened here today, you'll have more than just the Fire Nation looking for you. As if to emphasize her point, the distant Fire Nation airship suddenly changed course, turning back toward the island. They're coming back, Goku observed, his body automatically shifting into a fighting stance. And they've probably called for reinforcements. We can't fight an entire Fire Nation fleet, Master Roshi said. Not yet. You need training, Goku. Proper training in all the elements. Then let's go, Goku decided, looking to Bulma. Do you have transportation? She grinned and pressed a button on her wrist device. From behind the island, a sleek aircraft rose into view, smaller than the Fire Nation airship but clearly more advanced, with streamlined contours and softly humming engines. My latest design, she said proudly. Twice as fast as anything the Fire Nation has, with cloaking technology they haven't even dreamed of yet. Pack only what you need, Master Roshi instructed Goku. Your journey begins now. As Goku rushed to gather his few possessions, his mind raced with questions and possibilities. Just this morning, he had been merely Son Goku, martial artist and student. Now he was the Avatar, bridge between worlds. Master of elements, or at least, he would be, once he learned how to control these new powers. One thing was certain, life would never be the same again. And despite the danger, despite the uncertainty, Goku couldn't help but feel a thrill of anticipation. This was what he had been training for his entire life, whether he knew it or not. A challenge worthy of everything he had to give. Within minutes, they were airborne, Bulma's craft slicing through the clouds with remarkable speed and silence. Master Roshi sat cross-legged in meditation, while Bulma monitored various instruments at the controls. Goku stood at the viewport, watching Kame Island, his home for the past 5 years, dwindle to a speck on the vast ocean below. So, he said, turning to Bulma with characteristic directness. You seem to know a lot about avatars and bending and all that stuff. How come? Bulma glanced up from her controls, brushing a strand of blue hair from her face. I am a scientist specializing in energy systems, particularly the intersection of traditional bending energy and technological applications. The avatar represents the ultimate expression of elemental energy manipulation, so naturally. I've studied the historical records extensively. But you're not a bender yourself. No, she admitted. That's partly why I turned to technology, to understand and interact with energies I couldn't access naturally. She gave him an appraising look. You, on the other hand, seem to have won the genetic lottery. Not only the avatar, but a key manipulator as well. He research possibilities are fascinating. So I'm a research subject? Goku asked, not offended but simply clarifying. Bulma had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I won't pretend scientific curiosity isn't part of my motivation. But there's more to it than that. Her expression grew serious. The world is out of balance, Goku. The Fire Nation's aggression is just one symptom. We need the Avatar, not just as a symbol, but as a force for restoring harmony. From his meditation position, Master Roshi opened one eye. Bulma's father, Drive, Briefs, has been tracking unusual energy convergences for years. Signs that something is stirring in the fabric between the physical and spiritual worlds. Exactly, Bulma nodded. My instruments have detected increasing disruptions in the planeta Rai energy field, particularly around sites associated with previous avatars or major spiritual events. And what's causing these disruptions? Goku asked. Bulma and Master Roshi exchanged glances. Again, a look Goku was beginning to recognize as their way of deciding how much to tell him. We're not entirely sure, Bulma said finally. But there are rumors of an organization called the Planet Trade Federation, led by someone known only as Lord Frieza. They've been collecting ancient artifacts and technology related to energy manipulation, both bending and ki. To what end? We don't know, Master Roshi added. But any group seeking to monopolize power on such a scale cannot have benevolent intentions. Goku absorbed this information with uncharacteristic thoughtfulness. And you think I can stop them? Even though I barely understand my own abilities. That's why we're getting you to Toph Beifong, Bulma said firmly. You're powerful, Goku, more powerful than you realize. But power without control is as dangerous to yourself as it is to your enemies. You need proper training. Speaking of which, Master Roshi interjected, we should use this journey time productively. He say from his meditation position with surprising agility for his age. Your spontaneous firebending during the confrontation suggests fire may be your most naturally accessible element, despite not being next in the traditional avatar cycle. Quote, is that unusual? Goku asked. Each avatar has their own strengths and challenges, Master Roshi explained. Traditionally, an avatar born into the Fire Nation would learn fire first, then air, water, and earth. One born in the Earth Kingdom would start with earth, then fire, air, and water. But you weren't raised in any of the four nations, so your path may be different. So where do I start? With breath, Master Roshi said simply. The foundation of all bending, and ki manipulation too, as you already know from your training. For the remainder of the flight, Master Roshi guided Goku through breathing exercises designed to help him sense the different energy patterns associated with each element. Though no actual bending occurred, Goku began to identify subtle differences in how each elemental energy felt. Fire's quick, consuming heat, water's flowing adaptability, earth's solid resistance, air's elusive freedom. As the sun began to set, Bulma announced they were approaching the Earth Kingdom's southeastern coast. We'll need to make a brief stop for supplies before continuing to Jailing, she said, adjusting their course. There's a small trading port called Chin Village where we should be able to acquire what we need without attracting too much attention. Chin Village, Master Roshi mused. Named after Chin the Conqueror, who nearly unified the Earth Kingdom by force centuries ago, before Avatar Kyoshi stopped him. How'd she stop him? Goku asked, curious about his predecessor. She separated her home peninsula from the mainland, creating Kyoshi Island, Master Roshi said. The act caused Chin to fall to his death from the newly formed cliff. Whoa, Goku's eyes widened. So avatars can change the shape of the land itself. In the avatar state, yes, Master Roshi confirmed. The power at your disposal is literally earth-shaking, Goku. Which is why control must precede power in your training. The aircraft descended toward a secluded cove a short distance from the village, its cloaking technology ensuring they wouldn't be spotted from below. As they touched down, Bulma activated various security systems. The ship will be invisible and protected while we're gone, she explained, strapping on a backpack filled with technological gadgets. But we should still hurry. Fire Nation patrols have been increasing along the Earth Kingdom coast. Should I come with you? Master Roshi asked. My face is well known in these parts. Exactly why you should stay with the ship, Bulma countered. Goku and I will attract less attention. We'll just be a young couple passing through. Goku blinked at this characterization but didn't object. They disembarked into the warm evening air, the scent of salt and unfamiliar spices carried on the breeze from the nearby village. Handing Goku a simple Earth Kingdom-style cloak. Your hair is pretty distinctive. What's our cover story? Goku asked as Ey began walking along a narrow coastal path toward the village. We're travelers from the southern provinces, heading north to visit family, Bulma said. Keep it simple and let me do most of the talking. Chin Village proved to be a modest settlement, its buildings constructed of stone and wood in the traditional Earth Kingdom style. Despite the advancing evening, the marketplace remained active, with vendors calling out their wares and villagers haggling over prices. Goku had never seen so many people in one place. Growing up in the mountains with his grandfather had been solitary, and then came island had only occasional visitors. The diversity of people here fascinated him, Earth Kingdom citizens primarily, but also travelers from other nations, identifiable by their distinctive clothes. Things, styles and physical characteristics. Stay close, Bulma murmured as they entered the market. And try not to stare. But it was Goku who drew stares. Despite the hood concealing his distinctive hair, something about his movement, the fighter's grace, the contained power, caught attention. People unconsciously moved aside as he passed, some eyeing him warily, others with curiosity. Bulma efficiently purchased the supplies they needed: dried food, water containers, medical supplies, and Earth Kingdom clothing for Goku that would help him blend in better than his distinctive orange GI. As they were completing their final transaction, a commotion erupted at the village's main entrance. A squad of Fire Nation soldiers marched in, led by an officer who immediately began posting notices on the central message board. "Attention citizens," the officer announced. "By decree of Fire Lord Ozai, all travelers must present identification and submit to questioning regarding the whereabouts of this individual." He held up a poster, and even from a distance, Goku could see it featured a rough sketch of his own face. "That was fast," Bulma muttered, grabbing their purchases and Goku's arm. "We need to leave now." They began moving toward a side street, trying to avoid attention, but one of the soldiers spotted them and called out, "You there? Travelers, halt for inspection." Goku tensed, ready to fight if necessary. But Bulma squeezed his arm in warning. "Not here. Too many innocent people could get hurt." Instead, she turned and flashed a brilliant smile at the approaching soldier. "Of course, officer. What seems to be the problem?" The soldier's stern expression softened slightly in the face of Bulma's charm. "Routine inspection. We're looking for a fugitive young man, unusual fighting style. Possibly claiming to be the Avatar." "The Avatar," Bulma repeated with carefully calibrated surprise. "But I thought the Avatar cycle was broken." "That's the official position," the soldier agreed. "But we have reports of someone making false claims." His gaze shifted to Goku, who kept his head slightly lowered. "Your companion doesn't say much." "My cousin," Bulma explained smoothly. "He was injured in a farming accident last year. Damaged his vocal cords. We're actually on our way to Ba Sing Se to see a healer who might be able to help him." The soldier frowned slightly, not entirely convinced. "I'll need to see identification for both of you." Bulma's hand slipped toward a device on her belt. "Of course, let me just." She was interrupted by shouts from across the marketplace. Another group of soldiers had cornered an elderly man who was vigorously protesting his innocence. "I'm not hiding anyone. Search my home if you must, but handle my possessions with respect." The lead officer strode over, examining something the soldiers had found among the old man's belongings. Even from a distance, Goku recognized it as a scroll similar to the one Master Roshi had shown him, marked with symbols of the four elements. "Possession of Avatar relics without proper authorization," the officer declared loudly. "A serious offense. It's a family heirloom," the old man insisted. "My grandfather was a scholar who studied Avatar history. There's nothing illegal about historical artifacts." "That's for the Fire Lord's courts to decide," the officer said coldly. "Take him away." Something in Goku rebelled at the injustice of the scene. Before Bulma could stop him, he stepped forward, his hood falling back as he called out, "Leave him alone. He's done nothing wrong." All eyes in the marketplace turned toward him. The officer who had been questioning the old man looked up, his eyes widening in recognition as he compared Goku's face to the wanted poster. "It's him," he shouted. "The Avatar imposter. Seize him." Soldiers rushed forward from all directions. Bulma activated something on her wrist device that emitted a blinding flash, momentarily disorienting their immediate pursuers. "Run," she yelled, grabbing Goku's arm again. Back to the ship, but Goku stood his ground, watching as the old man was roughly handcuffed. "We can't just leave him," he insisted. "They're arresting him because of me, because he had Avatar relics." "Goku, there's nothing we can do right now," Bulma urged. "You're not ready to take on an entire Fire Nation squad. Getting captured won't help anyone." A fire blast from one of the soldiers cut off further argument, forcing them to dive for cover behind a market stall. More soldiers were converging on their position, some wielding flames while others carried more conventional weapons. "Find another way out," Bulma instructed, pulling a small spherical device from her belt. "I'll create a diversion." "I'm not leaving you. I'll be right behind you," she promised. Now go. Reluctantly, Goku darted toward a narrow alley between buildings. Behind him, he heard Bulma's device activate with a high-pitched whine, followed by exclamations of surprise and confusion from the soldiers. The alley led to a small courtyard behind the market, where laundry hung on lines between modest dwellings. Goku was calculating his next move when a small hand grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward a half-hidden doorway. "In here, quickly," hissed a young voice. Too surprised to resist, Goku allowed himself to be pulled into a dimly lit storage room filled with barrels and crates. His unexpected rescuer was a girl no more than 12 years old, with bright eyes and a determined expression. "They're looking everywhere for you," she whispered excitedly. "Are you really the Avatar?" Goku began, but was interrupted by Bulma slipping through the doorway behind him. "Goku, thank goodness," she panted, leaning against the wall. "I thought I'd lost you in the chaos." The girl's eyes widened further. "So you are the Avatar." "I knew it." She bounced on her toes with barely contained excitement. "I'm Meng. My grandmother has been saying for years that the Avatar would return when we needed him most." "Your grandmother sounds wise," Bulma said, checking her scanner for pursuing soldiers. "But right now, we need to get back to our transportation without being seen." "I can help," Meng offered eagerly. "There's a tunnel under the village, from the old days when Qin the Conqueror attacked. It leads all the way to the beach cove." Quote. Goku and Bulma exchanged looks of surprise and relief. "Can you show us?" Goku asked. Meng nodded vigorously. "Follow me." She led them through the storage room to a trapdoor hidden beneath stacked crates. It opened to reveal a narrow stone staircase descending into darkness. "I'll go first," Meng said, producing a small crystal from her pocket that began to glow with a soft green light when she whispered to it. "Watch your step. It gets slippery." The tunnel was ancient but well constructed, its walls reinforced with earthbending techniques that had stood the test of time. As they made their way through the winding passage, Meng kept up a constant stream of chatter. "My grandmother says the Avatar is the balance point of our world, like the center of a seesaw. When things get too heavy on one side, the Avatar shows up to set things right again." She glanced back at Goku with undisguised admiration. "Things have been pretty unbalanced lately, with the Fire Nation pushing into Earth Kingdom territory and all those strange energy storms." "Energy storms?" Bulma asked sharply. "That's what grandmother calls them. Times when the sky lights up with colors. And people feel weird, like their bending gets stronger or weaker for no reason." Meng shrugged. "Started happening a few years ago, mostly near the old temples and sacred sites." Bulma shot Goku a meaningful look. "Consistent with the energy disruptions I've been tracking," she murmured. "So," Meng continued, apparently untroubled by the danger they'd just escaped, "where are you heading, Mr. Avatar? Are you going to fight the Fire Lord? Or are you looking for teachers first?" "Teachers," Goku answered honestly. "I only just found out I was the Avatar today. I have a lot to learn." Meng nodded wisely. "Makes sense. Grandmother says power without wisdom is like a river without banks, destructive to everything it touches." She paused at a fork in the tunnel, considering for a moment before choosing the right path. "You should talk to my grandmother before you go. She knows all sorts of things about the old ways." "We really need to keep moving," Bulma said, checking her scanner again. "The Fire Nation will be expanding their search. The tunnel exits right near your aircraft," Meng said casually. "The invisible one in the cove." Goku and Bulma stopped in their tracks. "You know about our ship?" Bulma asked incredulously. "But it's cloaked with the most advanced technology available." Meng grinned. "Grandmother sees lots of things others don't. She told me visitors would arrive in a dragon that hides from ordinary eyes. Said I should help them when the soldiers came." Her expression grew serious. "She's been waiting for you, Avatar Goku." The tunnel eventually opened onto the beach cove where they had landed. True to Meng's word, the exit was just a short distance from where their cloaked aircraft sat invisible to normal sight. "Your grandmother," Goku said as they emerged into the cool night air. "Who is she?" "Her name is Wu," Meng replied. "But most people call her Aunt Wu. She's a fortune teller, the best in the Earth Kingdom. She does not usually share her visions with strangers, but she's been talking about the Avatar's return for months now." Bulma looked torn between scientific skepticism and the undeniable fact that this child had known about their cloaked aircraft. "We really should get moving," she said finally. "Master Roshi will be worried. The turtle hermit is with you too." Meng's eyes grew impossibly wider. "Grand Mother will definitely want to meet him. She says he's one of the last true masters of the old ways." Before they could respond, a soft humming announced the decloaking of their aircraft. The loading ramp extended, and Master Roshi appeared, his stance wary until he recognized Goku and Bulma. "You're late," he called. "I was about to come looking for you. We ran into some Fire Nation trouble," Bulma explained as they approached. "Goku's already got a bounty on his head." Master Roshi sighed. "I feared as much. We should depart immediately." "Wait," Goku said, turning back to Meng who had stopped at the edge of the beach. "Your grandmother, Aunt Wu. You said she's been expecting me." Meng nodded solemnly. "She said when the time came, I'd know what to do." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small wrapped package, which she handed to Goku. "She told me to give this to the Avatar when I found him. Said you'd need it on your journey." Goku unwrapped the package to reveal a small stone disc, ancient in appearance, carved with symbols representing all four elements around a central spiral. "It's an Avatar relic," Master Roshi said, examining it with surprise. "A meditation focus used by Avatar Roku. If I'm not mistaken. How did your grandmother get this?" Bulma asked, scanning the artifact with barely concealed scientific excitement. Meng shrugged. "She has lots of old things. People bring her gifts from all over the world in exchange for her fortunes." She stepped back, bowing formally in the Earth Kingdom style. "Good luck on your journey, Avatar Goku. Grandmother says we'll meet again when the signs align." With that cryptic farewell, she turned and darted back into the tunnel entrance, the passage seeming to seal itself behind her with a subtle shish. IFT of Earth that suggested either coincidence or hidden earthbending skill. "What an unusual child," Master Roshi remarked as they boarded the aircraft. "This whole day has been unusual," Goku said, carefully tucking the stone disc into his pocket. "Yesterday I was just a martial artist. Today I'm the Avatar with the Fire Nation hunting me, and little girls giving me ancient relics." Bulma SMI led as she initiated the takeoff sequence. "Get used to it, Goku. From what I know of Avatar history, unusual is about to become your new normal." The aircraft rose silently into the night sky, its cloaking technology re-engaging as they gained altitude. Through the viewport, Goku watched the lights of Chin Village grow smaller, thinking of the old man arrested for possessing Avatar relics, of Meng and her mysterious grandmother. Of all the people whose lives might depend on his ability to master his newfound powers. "How long until we reach Jailing?" he asked, turning from the window. "We'll arrive by morning," Bulma replied. "I suggest you get some rest. Meeting Toph Beifong will require all your energy." "What's she like?" Goku wondered, settling into one of the passenger seats. His earthbending master you think can teach me." Master Roshi chuckled. "Toph Beifong is formidable. The greatest earthbender in the world, by her own account, and most would agree with her assessment. She revolutionized earthbending by developing metalbending, a skill previously thought impossible. She's also," Bulma added with a hint of amusement, "stubborn, blunt, and completely unimpressed by titles or status. Including Avatar." "She sounds perfect," Goku said with a grin. If there was one thing he appreciated, it was straightforward strength without pretense. As the aircraft continued its journey through the night sky, Goku closed his eyes, allowing himself a few hours of rest before the next stage of his journey began. In his dreams, he saw flashes of faces he somehow recognized despite never having met them, men and women of all nations and ages, looking back at him with expressions that ranged from encouragement to concern to stern expectation. Previous avatars, he realized. His past lives, watching and waiting to see what kind of avatar he would become. "I won't let you down," he promised them in his dream. "I'll master the elements and restore balance." That's a promise. And Son Goku never broke his promises. Chapter 1 End Chapter 2, The Earthbender. Dawn broke over the mountain ranges of the southern Earth Kingdom, painting the rugged landscape in shades of emerald and gold. Bulma's aircraft glided silently through wisps of morning mist, descending toward a secluded valley nestled between two imposing peaks. Below, the city of Jailing sprawled across the fertile plain, its white stone buildings and green-tiled roofs catching the first rays of sunlight. Goku pressed his face against the viewport, taking in the unfamiliar sights with undisguised wonder. Having spent his life either in remote mountains or on Kame Island, he had never seen a proper city before. "It's huge," he exclaimed, eyes wide as he tracked the movement of tiny figures going about their morning routines in the streets below. "How many people live here?" "About 50,000, Bulma replied, skillfully navigating the aircraft toward a landing site in the foothills above the city. Jailing is one of the Earth Kingdom's major trading centers, wealthy enough to maintain independence from Ba Sing Se's direct control, yet not so strategically important that the Fire Nation has prioritized its conquest. "A perfect place to begin your training," Master Roshi added, joining them at the viewport. "Prominent enough that our presence won't seem unusual, yet removed from major political centers that news of the Avatar's return might not reach the Fire Nation immediately." Goku's expression grew serious at the reminder of their purpose. "And Toph Beifong lives here, in the city?" Master Roshi chuckled. "Not exactly. The Beifong family estate lies just outside Jailing, but Toph herself rarely stays there. She prefers more rustic accommodations." "Meaning?" Goku asked. "Meaning she lives in a cave in the mountains when she's not traveling," Bulma explained, activating the landing sequence as they approached a small clearing. "Toph has always had a complicated relationship with civilization. She prefers the company of earth and stone to most people." The aircraft touched down with barely a tremor, settling onto the grassy clearing as its engines powered down. Through the viewport, Goku could see they had landed in a small valley hidden from the main road, surrounded by dense forest on 3 sides and backed by a sheer cliff face on the 4th. "Perfect," Bulma declared, checking her instruments. "We're within hiking distance of Toph's usual location, but far enough from regular paths that we shouldn't be noticed." "How do you know where to find her?" Goku asked as they prepared to disembark. "If she moves around a lot." Bulma tapped her scanner. "Toph gives off a unique energy signature, a side effect of her exceptional bending abilities and her unique way of perceiving the world." "Unique," Goku repeated. "You'll see," Master Roshi said cryptically. "Or rather, she will. In her own way." Goku was accustomed to his master's occasional enigmatic statements, so he simply nodded and followed the others down the loading ramp. The morning air was crisp and sweet, heavy with the scent of pine and wild mountain flowers. Birds called from the surrounding forest, and somewhere in the distance, a stream bubbled over rocks. "We should change into Earth Kingdom attire before heading out," Bulma suggested, retrieving packs from the cargo hold. "Standing out is the last thing we want right now." Within minutes, Goku had exchanged his distinctive orange GI for the greens and browns typical of Earth Kingdom travelers, loose trousers, a long-sleeved tunic, and a wide-brimmed hat that helped conceal his spiky hair. The clothes felt strange against his skin, stiffer than his usual training attire, but he had to admit they would help him blend in. "How do I look?" he asked, spreading his arms. "Like a proper Earth Kingdom citizen," Master Roshi approved, himself now dressed in subdued green robes rather than his usual island attire. "Though we'll need to work on your bearing. You move too much like a fighter, all controlled power and readiness. Try to slouch a bit." Goku attempted to adjust his posture, but his ingrained martial discipline made it difficult. "This feels wrong," he complained. "How am I supposed to react quickly if I'm all floppy?" "That's exactly the point," Bulma said, emerging from the our craft in an elegant Earth Kingdom dress, her blue hair now hidden beneath a headscarf. "Most Earth Kingdom citizens aren't trained fighters. Moving like one attracts attention." She activated the aircraft's cloaking system, and the sleek vessel shimmered before disappearing from view, leaving only a slight distortion in the air to mark its presence. "The ship will remain hidden and secured," she explained, adjusting a device on her wrist. "I can remote call it if we need a quick escape." "So which way to Toph Beifong?" Goku asked, eager to begin despite his discomfort with the unfamiliar clothes. Bulma consulted her scanner, then pointed toward the cliff face behind them. "According to my readings, there's a series of caves about 3 kilometers in that direction, halfway up the mountainside. One of them is registering the energy signature I associate with Toph." Then what are we waiting for? Goku grinned, already starting toward the indicated path. Patience, Master Roshi cautioned, falling into step beside him. Approaching Toph Beifong requires delicacy. She values her privacy and has been known to bury unwelcome visitors up to their necks in stone. She sounds fun, Goku said without irony. The prospect of meeting someone powerful enough to command such respect from Master Roshi only increased his anticipation. They hiked through the forest in companionable silence, following a barely visible trail that wound steadily upward toward the cliffs. Goku found himself reflexively cataloging every detail of his surroundings, potential escape routes, defensive positions, sources of water or cover, a habit ingrained by years of training. As they climbed higher, the forest thinned, giving way to rocky terrain scattered with boulders of various sizes. Some appeared to have fallen naturally from the cliffs above, while others showed signs of deliberate placement, too precisely balanced to be coincidental. "We're entering her territory," Master Roshi said quietly. "She's almost certainly aware of our presence already." Already, Goku looked around, seeing no one. "But we haven't even reached the caves yet." "Toph doesn't need to see you to know you're there," Bulma explained. A rumbling interrupted her words as the ground beneath their feet suddenly shifted. Goku instinctively leapt upward, narrowly avoiding being encased in rapidly forming stone shackles that erupted from the earth. Master Roshi similarly evaded with a nimble sidestep, but Bulma wasn't quite fast enough. Stone closed around her ankles, rooting her firmly in place. "That's far enough," commanded a voice from above them. Goku looked up to see a compact figure standing atop a large boulder 30 meters ahead. A woman of around 40, with black hair pulled back in a practical bun and unseeing pale green eyes that nevertheless seemed to stare right through them. She wore simple Earth Kingdom attire, practical trousers and a sleeveless tunic that left her muscular arms bare. With no shoes despite the rocky terrain. "Toph Beifong," Master Roshi called out, bowing respectfully despite the hostile reception. "It's been many years." The woman's head tilted slightly. "Roshi, the turtle hermit himself, all the way out here." Her sightless eyes narrowed. "Must be something important to drag you away from your little island paradise." "Indeed it is," Master Roshi agreed. "We've come seeking your expertise in a matter of great importance." Toph snorted, unimpressed. "Everyone who climbs up here thinks their problem is of great importance. Usually it's just some rich merchant who wants metalbending lessons for their spoiled kid." Her attention shifted, head turning unerringly toward Goku. "But you brought something more interesting this time. Who's the powerhouse?" Goku blinked, surprised at being identified so specifically. Before he could respond, Toph continued. "Never felt anything quite like him before. Light on his feet but heavy with potential. Weird combination of energies." She jumped down from the boulder, landing with a solid impact that sent small ripples through the earth. "So who are you, Spiky? And why should I care?" "I'm Son Goku," he answered directly, intrigued by her blunt manner. "And I need to learn earthbending." Toph barked a laugh. "Of course you do. Everyone wants to learn earthbending from the great Toph Beifong." She planted her feet firmly and crossed her arms. "But I stopped taking students decades ago. Too much whining, not enough rock-headedness." "He's the Avatar," Bulma interjected from her stone-trapped position. "And we don't have much time." A flicker of genuine surprise crossed Toph's face before she schooled her expression back to skepticism. "The Avatar. Pull the other one. The Avatar CYC. Law was broken during the 100-Year War. That's what the world was led to believe," Master Roshi said. "But Goku has demonstrated undeniable Avatar abilities. The Fire Nation is already hunting him." "Prove it," Toph challenged, turning her sightless gaze back to Goku. "Do some fancy 4-element bending. Impress me." Goku shifted uncomfortably. "That's the problem. I can't really control it yet. Yesterday was the first time I even knew I was the Avatar." "Convenient," Toph remarked dryly. "But I can show you my key manipulation," Goku offered. "That, I've been training in for years." Without waiting for permission, he widened his stance and cupped his hands at his side. Concentrating, he summoned his key energy, a blue-white glow forming between his palms and illuminating the rocky clearing with pulsing light. Toph's eyebrows rose slightly. "Interesting. I can feel that. Not with my earthbending sense, but somehow else. Like heat and pressure in the air. She tilted her head, analytical. That's not bending. No, Master Roshi confirmed. It's ki manipulation. Life energy controlled and externalized. Goku is uniquely gifted in both arts, which is part of what makes him such an unusual avatar. Goku released the gathered energy, letting it dissipate harmlessly into the air. Master Roshi says I need to learn the elements in the proper sequence. Earth is next after my natural fire affinity. And you thought I'd just drop everything to teach you because you're supposedly the avatar? Toph challenged, though there was now a hint of genuine curiosity beneath her gruff exterior. I hoped you might, Goku said honestly. I learn fast. Toph stepped closer, her bare feet pressing firmly into the earth with each step. When she stood directly before Goku, she reached up and placed a calloused hand on his chest, directly over his heart. He remained still, instinctively understanding this was some kind of test. For several long moments, Toph stood motionless. Her unseeing eyes fixed somewhere past Goku's shoulder, her expression concentrated as if listening to something only she could hear. Then she stepped back, a new contemplation in her features. Your heartbeat is steady. No signs of deception. She frowned slightly. But there's something else there too. Echoes, almost, like multiple heartbeats layered beneath your own. Past avatar lives, Master Roshi suggested. They remain connected to the current avatar, even if Goku hasn't learned to access their wisdom yet. Toph turned away abruptly, waving a hand that caused the stone shackles around Bulma's ankles to crumble away. Fine, I'll give you 1 day. 1 day to convince me you're worth my time. She pointed at Goku without turning around. You, sunrise tomorrow. Come alone. With that, she stomped 1 foot on the ground, causing a section of the cliff face to slide open, revealing a cave entrance. She strode inside without looking back, the stone ceiling seamlessly behind her. Well, Bulma said, rubbing her freed ankles, that went better than expected. Did it? Goku asked, uncertain. Master Roshi nodded. Indeed, she didn't bury us in an avalanche or send us tumbling back down the mountain. By Toph's standards, that was practically a warm welcome. So what now? Goku looked toward the now sealed cave entrance. Now we find accommodations in jailing, Bulma decided. We'll need supplies, information, and a place for you to rest before tomorrow's trial. And, Master Roshi added, we should check if any word of your avatar status has reached this far from Kame Island. The Fire Nation works quickly, but news can travel even faster. They made their way back down the mountain and approached jailing from the main road, blending in with other travelers entering the city. Goku marveled at the bustling streets, the marketplace teeming with goods from all corners of the world, the varied architecture that spoke of a city comfortable with both tradition and progress. Bulma secured rooms at a modest inn near the edge of town, using a false name and paying with Earth Kingdom currency she had apparently come prepared with. The innkeeper, a jovial middle-aged woman with laugh lines around her eyes, seemed unperturbed by the arrival of new guests. News from the coast, she asked casually as she showed them to their rooms. Nothing unusual, Bulma replied with equal casualness. Though the trade ships mentioned increased Fire Nation patrols. The innkeeper nodded. Been seeing more of their soldiers in town too. Claiming it's just diplomatic presence, but no one's fooled. She lowered her voice. Word is they're looking for someone. Been questioning travelers with unusual fighting styles or strange abilities. Goku and Master Roshi exchanged glances but said nothing. Well, you won't find anything unusual about us, Bulma assured her with a disarming smile. Just a family visiting relatives in the northern provinces. Once alone in their adjoining rooms. Goku flopped onto the simple bed, staring up at the ceiling beams. So what's Toph going to test me on tomorrow? He wondered aloud. Master Roshi, who had followed him into the room, settled cross-legged on a floor cushion. If I know Toph, and I've known her for many years, she'll be testing your spirit more than your abilities. Earthbending requires different qualities than the ki manipulation you're used to. Like what? Strength of will, steadfastness, the ability to face challenges head-on rather than flowing around them. Master Roshi stroked his beard thoughtfully. In many ways, earthbending is the opposite of your natural fighting style, which emphasizes adaptability and movement. Goku considered this. So I need to be more stubborn. Master Roshi chuckled. Essentially, yes. Though Toph would call it being rock-like. Standing your ground, refusing to yield. His expression grew more serious. But there's something else you should understand about Toph before tomorrow. What's that? Toph has been blind since birth, Master Roshi explained. But through her earthbending, she's developed a way of seeing that in many ways surpasses normal vision. She senses vibrations through the earth, footsteps, heartbeats, even subtle shifts in weight or tension that might indicate deception or attack. Goku sat up, intrigued. That's how she knew exactly where we were on the mountain. And why she called me Spiky, even though she couldn't see my hair. Exactly. Don't make the mistake of thinking her blindness is a disadvantage. In many ways, it's the source of her extraordinary skill. Master Roshi rose from his cushion. Now, I suggest you rest. Tomorrow will test you in ways you cannot anticipate. After Master Roshi left, Goku tried to meditate as instructed. But his mind kept wandering to the strange woman on the mountain. Toph Beifong was unlike anyone he'd ever met. Direct to the point of rudeness, apparently unimpressed by his status as the Avatar. Yet clearly possessing power that commanded respect. He found himself oddly looking forward to whatever challenge she might pose. Throughout his life, Goku had thrived on testing himself against worthy opponents. Pushing past his limitations to reach new heights of skill and power. If Toph Beifong could help him harness earthbending, he would endure whatever trial she devised. With that determination in mind, he finally drifted into sleep, his dreams filled with shifting stone and unseeing eyes that somehow saw everything. Dawn found Goku already awake and prepared, dressed again in the Earth Kingdom clothes but moving with his natural fighter's grace rather than attempting to disguise it. If Toph was going to test him, he decided, she should see him as he truly was. He left a note for Master Roshi and Bulma, then slipped out of the inn while the city still slumbered. The streets were mostly empty at this hour, with only a few early merchants setting up tea. Air stalls in the marketplace and night watchmen ending their shifts. The journey back up the mountain seemed shorter than before, perhaps because he moved at his own pace rather than accommodating his companions. The forest was alive with morning activity, birds calling, small animals rustling in the underbrush, insects buzzing in the warming air. When he reached the clearing where they had encountered Toph the previous day, he found it empty. The cliff face showed no sign of a cave entrance, appearing solid and unbroken in the early light. Uncertain how to proceed, Goku called out, "I'm here," as requested. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the ground beneath Goku's feet vanished, dropping him into darkness. He managed to avoid injury by tucking into a roll as he fell, landing in a defensive crouch on a stone floor in what appeared to be an underground chamber. "Not bad," came Toph's voice from the shadows. "Most people scream all the way down." A flame ignited somewhere to his left, illuminating the space. A large cavern with walls of polished stone, the ceiling lost in darkness above. Toph stood beside a simple fire pit, her unseeing eyes reflecting the newly kindled flames. "You're punctual," she observed. "I like that. Wasting time irritates me. I'm eager to learn," Goku replied, straightening from his crouch and taking in the cavern. It was surprisingly comfortable, with areas clearly designated for different purposes: sleeping, cooking, training. One wall featured an array of metallic objects in various stages of being bent into new shapes. "Before we begin," Toph said, "I want to make something clear. I don't care if you're the Avatar or not." This wasn't what Goku had expected. "You don't." "Nope. Titles mean nothing to me. Avatar, king, peasant. I judge people by what they are, not what they're called." She pointed a finger directly at him. "So whether you're really the Avatar or just some unusually gifted bender with delusions of grandeur doesn't matter. What matters is whether you have what it takes to learn true earthbending." "And how will you determine that?" Goku asked. Toph's mouth curved in a smile that was more challenge than warmth. "By trying to crush you, of course." Without further warning, she stomped her foot on the cavern floor. The stone beneath Goku shifted violently, attempting to engulf his feet. He leapt upward, avoiding the trap, only to find a section of the ceiling descending to meet him. Twisting in midair, he pushed off the descending stone and landed in a clear space several meters away. "Good reflexes," Toph acknowledged, not turning to track his movement. But dodging isn't earthbending. She punched forward, sending a boulder hurtling toward him at tremendous speed. Instinctively, Goku raised his arms in a blocking position, channeling ki to reinforce his defense. The boulder shattered against his forearms, fragments scattering across the cavern floor. Interesting, Toph remarked. That's not earthbending either, but it's effective. She widened her stance. Let's see how you handle this. The entire cavern seemed to come alive at her command. Stone spikes erupted from the floor and walls. Pillars rose and fell in unpredictable patterns, and the very ground rippled like water. Goku found himself in constant motion, leaping, rolling, and flipping to avoid being crushed or impaled. Despite the danger, he couldn't help but admire Toph's skill. Her control was absolute, her movements economical yet devastatingly effective. She manipulated tons of tone with the casual ease that most people might lift a cup of tea. You can't dodge forever, Toph called out as the assault continued. An earthbender faces challenges head-on. Goku knew she was right. His instinct was to evade, to find openings, to turn an opponent's strength against them, all techniques that had served him well in martial arts. But earthbending clearly demanded a different approach. The next time a boulder came hurtling toward him, instead of dodging, Goku planted his feet firmly and met it with an open-palmed strike, channeling ki through his hands. The boulder exploded into dust, the force reverberating up his arms and into his core. Better, Toph acknowledged, but still using your energy technique, not connecting with the earth itself. How do I do that? Goku asked, narrowly sidestepping a stone column that erupted beside him. You need to feel the earth beneath you, not as something separate, but as an extension of yourself. Toph demonstrated with a flowing movement that sent waves rippling through the stone floor. Earth isn't just dirt and rock. It's foundation, stability, substance. You don't command it, you become it. Goku tried to absorb is teaching while still avoiding being crushed. The concept wasn't entirely foreign. Ki manipulation also required a form of connection, a channeling of energy through and beyond oneself. But this was different, more primal somehow. Stop thinking so much, Toph admonished, somehow sensing his internal struggle. Earthbending isn't intellectual, it's visceral. She stomped, sending a shockwave out the floor that knocked Goku off balance. Feel it in your gut. As Goku regained his footing, he made a decision. Instead of resuming his defensive evasions, he closed his eyes, shutting out visual distractions. He could sense Toph's movements through subtle air currents and the vibrations traveling through the stone beneath his feet, not as acutely as she could, surely, but enough to track her attacks. A massive boulder detached from the ceiling, plummeting toward him. Rather than leaping aside, Goku rooted himself, feeling the weight of his body connecting to the earth below. As the boulder descended, he reached upward with both physical hands and inner awareness, trying to extend his consciousness into the stone itself. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then, just as the boulder was about to crush him, it slowed, not stopping completely, but descending with greatly reduced velocity. Goku felt a strange resistance flowing through his arms, as if he were physically supporting the massive weight. Yet the burden was shared with the earth beneath his feet. With a grunt of effort, he pushed upward, redirecting the boulder's path slightly so it crashed harmlessly beside him rather than on top of him. The cavern fell suddenly silent, the stone attacks ceasing as quickly as they had begun. Goku opened his eyes to find Toph standing directly before him, her unseeing gaze fixed on his face with an expression of intense concentration. You felt it, she said, not a question but a confirmation. Just for a moment, but you connected. Goku nodded, still processing the strange sensation himself. It was like, the rock and I were made of the same stuff. Like I could feel it from the inside. That's the beginning of earthbending. Toph circled him slowly, her feet whispering against the stone floor. Most people take months to achieve even that brief connection. You did it under pressure in minutes. She stopped, facing him again. Maybe there's something to this avatar business after all. So you'll teach me? Goku asked hopefully. I'm considering it. Toph crossed her arms. But first, breakfast. Can't teach on an empty stomach. She led him to another section of the cavern where a simple cooking area was set up. With efficient movements, She kindled a stronger fire in a stone-lined pit and began preparing a meal from supplies stored in earthen containers. "So," she said as she worked, "tell me how a supposed avatar reached adulthood without knowing what he was." The standard procedure involves identifying avatar children by age 4 or 5. Goku explained his unusual upbringing, raised in isolation by his adoptive grandfather Gohan, then trained by Master Roshi after Gohan's death. He described the strange dreams that had preceded his discovery, the confrontation with the Fire Nation that had triggered his first conscious use of bending, and the subsequent revelation of his identity. Toph listened without interruption, RVing up bowls of kanji mixed with dried fruits and nuts as he spoke. When he finished his account, she sat back on her stone seat, expression thoughtful. It's not unheard of for the Avatar to Rima. In hidden during times of global imbalance, she mused. Avatar Aang was frozen for 100 years when the world needed him most. The Spearies work in mysterious ways, often inconvenient ones. You knew Avatar Aang? Goku asked, surprised. Toph snorted. I was his earthbending teacher. Twinkletoes needed a lot of work. Two airbender why, always wanting to dance around problems instead of facing them. A shadow of old grief passed across her features. But he was a good avatar, in the end. A better friend. Goku absorbed this information with newfound respect. You must be older than you look. Toph barked a laugh. Kid, I'm over 130. Earthbenders with my level of connection to the element tend to live long lives. Earth endures, and so do we. And you've been living in caves all this time. Not continuously. I've had my adventures, founded a metalbending academy, served as Republic City's chief of police for a while. She shrugged. But cities get noisy, people get annoying, and eventually, I always come back to the earth. It's where I can truly see. She set her empty bowl aside and fixed Goku with her unseeing gaze. Enough about me. What I want to know is, what kind of avatar do you intend to be? Quote, the question caught Goku off guard. I haven't really thought about it that way. Everything's happened so fast. That's not good enough, Toph said bluntly. The world's in turmoil. The Fire Nation's expanding its reach again. Technology is developing faster than wisdom to guide it, and there are rumors of dark spirits stirring in places that have been peaceful for generations. She leaned forward. The avatar isn't just a collection of bending skills. It's a responsibility. Goku considered her words carefully. I've always wanted to test my limits, to become stronger. But not for power's sake, to protect what matters. He met her sightless gaze directly. I guess that's the kind of avatar I want to be. One who protects people who can't protect themselves. Toph studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then, apparently satisfied with whatever she sensed, she nodded once. Good answer. Not fancy, but honest. She stood abruptly. All right, I've decided. I'll teach you earthbending. Goku's face split into a grin. Really? That's great. Don't celebrate yet, Toph warned. My teaching methods aren't gentle. I'm going to push you harder than you've ever been pushed before. I wouldn't want it any other way, Goku assured her, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. We'll see if you still feel that way by sunset. Toph led him to a different section of the cavern, a large open space with various sized boulders scattered around the perimeter. First lesson. Stance. An earthbender's power comes from proper rootedness. She demonstrated. Feet planted firmly shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, back straight. Feel the connection between your feet and the ground. That connection is everything. Goku mimicked her stance, trying to channel the same sense of solidity he had briefly achieved during their earlier confrontation. Wider, Toph instructed, using her earthbending to nudge his feet farther apart. Lower your center of gravity. You're too light on your feet. A strong wind could blow you over. My martial arts training taught me to stay mobile, Goku explained, adjusting his position. And that's fine for fighting with fists or energy blasts. But earthbending requires you to be unmovable. Toph stomped her foot, causing a small tremor to run through the ground beneath them. Feel that? That's the earth responding to my will because I'm part of it, not separate from it. For the next several hours, Toph drilled Goku in basic earthbending stances and movements. No actual bending occurred. It was all about proper form, proper connection, proper mindset. She was a demanding teacher, instantly correcting the slightest error with either verbal critique or small earthbending adjustments that forced his body into the correct position. Your mind is still too jumpy, she observed during a brief water break. You're thinking about what comes next instead of being fully present in each movement. I can't help it, Goku admitted. I've always learned by doing, by reacting. This slow, deliberate practice is challenging. That's exactly why you need it, Toph replied without sympathy. Earth isn't fire. It doesn't leap and dance. It doesn't flow like water or shift like air. Earth abides. Earth waits. Earth endures. She poked him in the chest with one finger. You need to learn patience. Goku sighed but nodded his agreement. I'll try. Do or do not, Toph quipped. There is no try. They resumed training, moving from static stances to simple movements, the pushing and pulling motions that formed the foundation of basic earthbending techniques. By midday, Goku's muscles were burning from holding unfamiliar positions, and sweat soaked his Earth Kingdom tunic. Not bad, Toph acknowledged grudgingly. You're strong, which helps. But strength alone isn't enough for earthbending. You need the right intention behind the movement. What kind of intention? Goku asked, rolling his shoulders to ease the tension. Absolute certainty, Toph replied. When you move to bend Earth, there can't be any hesitation, any doubt. You must know, not hope, not believe, but know that the Earth will obey your command. She demonstrated, executing a simple motion that caused a nearby boulder to slide smoothly across the cavern floor. I didn't ask the boulder to move. I didn't hope it would move. I knew it would move because I willed it to, and my will and the Earth's substance are connected. Goku nodded, beginning to understand. It's like when I channel ki for a Kamehameha wave. The energy responds because I know it will, not because I'm hoping it might. Similar concept, different energy source, Toph agreed. Now you try. That small rock there, shish. He pointed unerringly to a stone about the size of Goku's fist resting on the cavern floor. Goku assumed the stance she had taught him, rooting himself firmly to the ground. He extended one hand toward the rock, trying to feel the connection between himself, the floor beneath him, and the target stone. Then, with deliberate motion, he pulled his hand back toward his body, willing the stone to follow. Nothing happened. Again, Toph instructed. You're thinking too much about the technique. Feel the earth. Goku tried again, and again, with the same result. After the fifth attempt, frustration began to build in his chest, an unusual feeling for someone typically so adaptable to new challenges. This isn't working, he said finally. Of course it's not, Toph replied, sounding unsurprised. You're still approaching this like a martial arts technique, something external to master. Earthbending isn't just something you do, it's something you are. She tapped her bare foot on the stone floor. Maybe you need motivation. Without warning, she made a sharp gesture, and the ground beneath Goku suddenly encased his feet and legs up to the knees in solid stone. Hey, he protested, finding himself unable to move. Free yourself, Toph said simply, walking away toward the cooking area. When you can earthbend your way out of that, we'll continue the lesson. I'm going to make tea. Goku stared after her in disbelief, then looked down at his stone-encased legs. He attempted to break free using pure physical strength, but the rock held firm, clearly reinforced by Toph's bending mastery beyond normal stone's strength. For several minutes he struggled, alternating between attempting to channel ki to shatter the stone, which Toph immediately reinforced from across the cavern without even looking, and trying to replicate the earthbending movements with his upper body. Nothing worked. The stone remained unyielding, holding him fast. As his frustration mounted, Goku closed his eyes and forced himself to calm his mind. This wasn't working because he was approaching it wrongly. Toph had been trying to tell him that all morning. Earthbending wasn't about imposing his will on an external element. It was about recognizing that he and the earth were connected, parts of the same whole. The earth wasn't resisting him, he was resisting it by thinking of it as separate from himself. Taking a deep breath, Goku relaxed his body, allowing his weight to settle fully into the stone encasing his lower limbs. Instead of fighting against the restraint, he focused on feeling it, the texture of the stone. The pressure against his skin, the solidity that both trapped and supported him. I am the earth, and the earth is me, he murmured, echoing words Toph had used earlier. We are not separate. Something shifted in his perception, subtle at first, then increasingly clear. The stone around his legs no longer felt like an alien substance. It felt like an extension of himself, responding to his awareness just as his muscles responded to his nerve impulses. With this new understanding, Goku made a small, deliberate movement, not fighting against the stone but directing it as he would direct his own body. The rock encasing his legs trembled, then slowly, incrementally began to loosen and crumble. It wasn't a dramatic shattering or explosive release. Rather, the stone simple why stopped being a restraint and returned to being part of the cavern floor, as if it had never been shaped to trap him at all. Well, came Toph's voice from across the cavern. 3 hours. Not bad for a first lesson. Goku looked up in surprise. 3 hours. It had felt like minutes. Time flows differently when you're truly connecting with the earth, Toph explained, returning with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Goku. Drink. You've earned it. The tea was strong and earthy, with hints of minerals that reflected the environment around them. Goku sipped gratefully, only now realizing how thirsty he had become. So I actually did it. I earthbended. In the most basic sense, yes. Toph settled cross-legged on the stone floor beside him. You didn't move the earth so much as you convinced it to move itself. That's the essence of true earthbending. Goku tried to process this new perspective. It's very different from how I've trained before. It should be. Each element has its own philosophy, its own approach. Toph took a long drink of her tea. Fire is about will and energy. Water about flow and change. Air about freedom and detachment. Earth about substance and endurance. And I need to master all of them, Goku mused, the enormity of the task settling over him. One step at a time, Spiky. Toph punched him lightly on the arm, a gesture he was beginning to recognize as her version of approval. You've got the first spark of earthbending. Now we build on it. They spent the remainder of the afternoon on simple exercises, moving small stones across the floor, raising tiny pillars from flat surfaces, compressing sand into solid shapes. Goku's progress was remarkable once he grasped the fundamental concept, though Toph was quick to point out his many technical flaws. You're still relying too much on your physical strength, she critiqued as he raised a stone column with visible strain. Earthbending isn't about muscle power. It's about understanding and directing. It's hard to separate the two, Goku admitted. I've always used my body and my energy together. That's because you're thinking like a fighter, not a bender. Toph demonstrated the same technique, raising a much larger column with minimal apparent effort. Feel the difference. I'm not lifting the stone. I'm asking it to rise, and because I'm properly connected to the earth, it responds. Goku was about to attempt the exercise again when both he and Toph froze, sensing a disturbance. Someone was approaching the cavern from outside. Expecting company, Goku asked quietly, automatically shifting into a defensive stance. No, Toph replied, her head tilted as she concentrated on the vibrations traveling through the stone. Single individual, female, light but confident stride, carrying something heavy, feels like metal. Her eyebrows rose slightly, and she's heading directly for the hidden entrance. Knows exactly where she's going. Bulma, Goku suggested. No, different walking pattern. Toph's expression settled into a grimace of recognition. Ah, I know who it is. She made a sharp gesture, and a section of the cavern wall slid open, revealing a tunnel that presumably led to the surface. An old acquaintance who never learned the meaning of, I want to be left alone. Moments later, a figure appeared in the tunnel entrance, a woman in elegant traveling clothes of deep crimson and gold, her black hair pulled back in a traditional topknot secured with a golden flame-shaped ornament. She carried a large covered basket and moved with the grace, full precision of someone trained in formal court etiquette. Beifong, the woman greeted, her voice melodic yet somehow commanding. Still living in a hole in the ground, I see. Firecracker, Toph replied with equal dryness. Still dressing like you're expecting the Fire Lord to drop by for tea, I see. Despite the seemingly antagonistic exchange, Goku sensed no real hostility between the Wang and more a long-established pattern of interaction that substituted barbed familiarity for more conventional warmth. The newcomer's eyes shifted to Goku, widening slightly in what might have been recognition. So it's true, she murmured. The Avatar has returned. Word travels fast, Toph remarked. We only confirmed it ourselves yesterday. The fire sages sensed a disturbance in the cosmic energy, the woman explained, setting down her basket and approaching Goku with open curiosity. When I heard the description of a spiky-haired young man with extraordinary key abilities, I knew it had to be Son Goku. Goku blinked in surprise. You know me. The woman smiled, executing a formal bow. We've never met, but I know of you. My father arranged for us to be married when we were children. Married? Goku exclaimed, taking an involuntary step backward. Toph burst into laughter. Oh, this is too good. The Avatar, betrothed and didn't even know it. She pointed in the general direction of the newcomer. Goku, meet Chi-Chi, princess of the Fire Nation's southern peninsula and daughter of the Ox King. Former princess, Chi-Chi corrected, though without heat. My father's domain. Became a Fire Nation protectorate 20 years ago. Now I'm merely Lady Chi-Chi. Nothing. Mere. About you, Toph snorted. Still breathing fire when you're angry, I assume. Chi-Chi ignored this, keeping her attention on Goku. I've spent years tracking down rumors of my betrothed. When word reached the Fire Sage Temple of Strange Energy Signatures at Kame Island, I suspected it might be you. Goku struggled to process this new complication. I'm sorry, but I don't remember any betrothal. My grandfather never mentioned it. You were very young, Chi-Chi acknowledged. And after your and father's death and your disappearance into the wilds, my father assumed the arrangement had been voided by circumstance. Her expression softened slightly, but I never forgot. I've followed stories of your martial arts tournaments and training journeys for years. There was an awkward silence as Goku tried to formulate a response to this revelation. He was saved by Toph's impatient interruption. As fascinating as this reunion is, we're in the middle of Avatar training here. What exactly do you want, Firecracker? Chi-Chi straightened, her manner becoming more formal. When I realized he Avatar had returned and that it might be Goku, I came to offer assistance. The Fire Sages have extensive records on Avatar training methodologies, particularly for firebending. Already ahead of you there, Toph said. Spiky here has a natural affinity for fire. It was the first element he bent spontaneously. All the more reason he'll need proper instruction, Chi-Chi countered. Untrained. Firebending is dangerous, to the bender and to everyone around them. She returned her attention to Goku. Fire is the element of power and will. Without proper spiritual and technical guidance, it can consume rather than empower. Goku found himself intrigued despite the awkwardness of their supposed betrothal. You're a firebending master. Chi-Chi nodded. I trained under Master Jung and later with the Sun Warriors. I've studied both modern and ancient firebending techniques. A small flame appeared in her palm, burning with unusual clarity and control. Fire is life and energy, not just destruction. That's the first lesson any Avatar must learn about the element. Toph made a dismissive gesture. Fire comes later in the cycle. Right now, he's learning Earth. The cycle isn't absolute, Chi-Chi argued. Avatar Aang learned water before Earth, despite the traditional sequence, because circumstances required it. With the Fire Nation already hunting the Avatar, understanding firebending becomes a strategic necessity. She has a point, Goku interjected before Toph could respond. If I'm going to face Fire Nation soldiers, knowing how their bending works would be an advantage. Toph crossed her arms, clearly displeased with this logic but unable to refute it. Fine, but Earth training comes first each day. She can have you in the afternoons, assuming you have any energy left. Chi-Chi smiled, satisfaction evident in her posture. Excellent. I've taken lodgings in Jailing. When you've finished here today, you can accompany me back to the city, and we can discuss your training schedule. She gestured to the basket she had brought. I've brought provisions, proper food, not whatever stone soup Beifong has been feeding you. My cooking is perfectly adequate, Toph grumbled. For someone who likes eating dirt, perhaps. Chi-Chi began unpacking the basket, revealing containers of steaming rice, grilled meats, vegetables in savory sauces, and sweet dumplings. The scent reminded Goku that he had eaten nothing since the simple breakfast hours earlier. His stomach growled audibly, drawing amused looks from both women. Well, at least your appetite hasn't changed, Chi-Chi remarked. arranging the food on a cloth she spread over a flat stone surface. You always could eat enough for 3 grown men. You really have been following my activities, Goku observed, accepting a heaping bowl of food with undisguised enthusiasm. When you're betrothed to someone from childhood, you develop a certain investment in their well-being, Chi-Chi replied, our tone carefully neutral despite the personal nature of the statement. Toph, who had settled cross-legged near the impromptu picnic, snorted. What she means is she's been obsessively tracking your whereabouts for years. Probably with the help of Fire Nation intelligence networks. Chi-Chi flushed slightly but didn't deny the accusation. The important thing is that we've found each other now, at this crucial moment. She turned to Goku, her expression earnest. The world needs the Avatar. And the Avatar needs teachers who understand both the elements and the political landscape he'll be navigating. Speaking of which, Toph interjected, how much does the Fire Nation know about Goku's Avatar status? You mentioned the Fire Sages sensed something, but has it reached official channels? Chi-Chi's expression darkened. Unfortunately, yes. Commander Zhao reported the incident at Kame Island directly to Fire Lord Ozai. The official position is that Goku is a dangerous imposter making Alcy Avatar claims to undermine Fire Nation authority. Meaning they know exactly who and what I am, but are trying to control the narrative, Goku concluded, demonstrating more political acumen than either woman might have expected. Precisely, Chi-Chi confirmed. Posters with your likeness have been distributed throughout Fire Nation territories and allied states. You're described as a dang ruse revolutionary with delusional beliefs about being the Avatar. Great, Toph muttered. Nothing like having the most powerful nation in the world gunning for you while you're still learning to move pebbles. It gets worse, Chi-Chi continued. There are rumors that Ozai has activated special operations units, elite squads of benders and Kai blockers trained specifically for high-value target acquisition. Kai blockers? Goku questioned. Warriors who can temporarily disable a person's bending by striking precise pressure points, Toph explained. They were originally developed to maintain order in prison facilities housing benders, but the Fire Nation has weaponized the technique for field operations. Goku absorbed this information with characteristic calm. Rather than appearing worried, he seemed almost energized by the prospect of worthy opponents. Then I'll need to learn quickly. Not just earthbending, but all the elements. That's the spirit, Toph approved, punching his arm again. Fear is the enemy of solid earthbending. Face the challenge head-on. But also with wisdom, Chi-Chi cautioned. The Avatar's strength isn't just in power but in balance, knowing when to stand firm and when to adapt. Quote, the conversation continued as they shared the meal, with Chi-Chi providing more details about the political situation in the Fire Nation and beyond. Despite her formal manner, she proved knowledgeable and insightful, offering perspectives that complemented Toph's more direct assessments. As the day waned and they prepared to return to jailing, Toph pulled Goku aside for a private word while Chi-Chi packed up the remains of their meal. Listen, Spiky, she said in a low voice. Firecracker there is smart and skilled, one of the best firebenders I've ever encountered. But she also has her own agenda. The betrothal, you mean? Goku asked. That, and whatever political machinations she's involved in. The Fire Nation is never as straightforward as it appears. Toph's unseeing eyes somehow managed to convey intense seriousness. Learn from her, but keep your guard up. Not everyone who claims to support the Avatar has the world's best interests at heart. Goku nodded, understanding the warning. I'll be careful, but my instincts tell me she's sincere, at least about wanting to help with my training. Your instincts are probably right, Toph conceded. Just remember that sincerity and single-mindedness often go hand in hand with Chi-Chi. Once she decides on a course of action, moving her is like trying to shift a mountain. A hint of grudging respect colored her tone. In that way, she's more like an earthbender than she'd ever admit. They rejoined Chi-Chi at the cavern entrance, where Toph opened a passage leading directly to a trail that descended toward jailing. The setting sun bathed the mountainside in golden light, the city below already beginning to twinkle with lanterns and cook fires. Same time tomorrow, Toph instructed Goku. Dawn. Don't be late. I won't, he promised. Thank you for today's lesson. I learned more than I expected. Something almost like warmth flickered across Toph's usually guarded features. You've got potential, Spiky. Raw and undisciplined, but genuine. She turned to Chi-Chi with a more neutral expression. Try not to fill his head with too much Fire Nation propaganda before I see him tomorrow. Chi-Chi smiled thinly. I wouldn't dream of it. Good evening, Beifong. As they descended the mountain path toward Jailing, Goku found himself in the unusual position of walking beside a woman who believed herself betrothed to him, a concept still too foreign to fully process. Chi-Chi moved with graceful confidence, navigating the rocky trail in her formal attire as easily as if strolling through a palace garden. So, he began, searching for neutral conversation. How did you find Toph? She seems pretty serious about her privacy. Chi-Chi glanced at him, a hint of amusement in her eyes. Toph and I have history. We've known each other since the days of Republic City's founding. She is chief of police, I is a diplomatic representative from the Fire Nation. You don't look old enough for that, Goku observed. Genuinely puzzled. Thank you for the compliment, Chi-Chi replied with a small smile. The truth is, firebenders of royal lineage often enjoy extended lifespan. Something about our connection to the original firebending dragons. I'm 73, though I appear much younger. Goku nearly tripped over a loose stone. 73. Does that bother you? There was a hint of challenge in her voice. No, just surprising. Goku shook his head in wonder. Everything about this avatar business is surprising. They walked in silence for a few moments before Chi-Chi spoke again. Her tone more hesitant than before. About our betrothal, I understand it comes as a shock to you. My father arranged it with your grandfather when you were only 3 years old. Following ancient Fire Nation customs that were already becoming outdated even then. I don't remember my grandfather ever mentioning it, Goku admitted. Perhaps he meant to tell you when you were older, Chi-Chi suggested. Or perhaps he decided against it as the world changed around you. She looked straight ahead, her profile outlined against the sunset sky. In any case, I want you to know that I don't consider you bound by an arrangement you never consented to. My interest in helping you now is as the Avatar, not as a childhood betrothed. The directness of this statement, so at odds with the political maneuvering Chi-Chi had described earlier, impressed Goku. I appreciate that, he said sincerely. I don't know much about betrothals or marriages or any of that. My life has been simpler. Focused on martial arts and training, Chi-Chi nodded. I've followed your career, remember. Your single-minded dedication is quite renowned. It's all I've ever known, Goku shrugged. Getting stronger, facing challenges, pushing my limits. Now I have new limits to push, new skills to master. Chi-Chi studied him with an expression he couldn't quite interpret. You haven't changed as much as I expected, she said finally. When we were children, you had that same straightforward determination. It's refreshing, in a world of political doublespeak and hidden agendas. They had reached the outskirts of Jailing, where the path joined a wider road leading into the city proper. Lanterns illuminated the street, casting warm pools of light between shadows. I should return to my companions, Goku said, gesturing toward the inn where Master Roshi and Bulma awaited. They'll be wondering where I've been all day. Chi-Chi nodded. Of course. My lodgings are near the central market. Shall we meet there tomorrow after your morning training with Toph? Say, midday. That works, Goku agreed. And, thank you for the food. And the information. It's the least I can do for the Avatar. Chi-Chi replied with a formal bow. Then, more softly, and for the boy I never forgot. Before Goku could formulate a response to this unexpectedly personal statement, Chi-Chi turned and walked away. Her crimson and gold attire soon swallowed by the evening shadows. He stood watching after her for a moment, processing the day's events. In the span of hours, he had connected with earthbending for the first time, gained 2 new teachers from opposite ends of the elemental and personality spectrums, and discovered he had apparently been betrothed since childhood. Just another day in the life of the Avatar, I guess, he murmured to himself, turning toward the inn. As he walked through Jailing's darkening streets, Goku couldn't shake the feeling that his life had irreversibly changed course. The simple path of the martial artist seeking ever greater strength had transformed into something far more complex, a journey not just of personal achievement but of global responsibility. And yet, beneath the weight of this new identity, he found himself unexpectedly energized. New challenges, new powers to master, new opponents to face. These were the things that had always driven him forward. If being the Avatar meant facing the ultimate test of his abilities, then he would meet that challenge as he had met every other in his life, head-on, with unwavering determination. With this resolution firming in his mind, Goku quickened his pace toward the inn, eager to share the day's developments with Master Roshi and Bulma. His path as the Avatar was just beginning, but already he could feel the earth beneath his feet responding to his newfound connection, solid, steady, and ready to support whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, Water and Spirit. A bitter wind howled across the frozen tundra, carrying ice crystals that bit into exposed skin like tiny daggers. Goku pulled his fur-lined hood tighter around his face, marveling at how different this landscape was from the temperate mountains of the Earth Kingdom they'd left behind 3 weeks ago. The endless white expanse of the Northern Water Tribe territories stretched before their small party, broken only by jagged ice formations that rose like crystal sculptures from the snow-covered ground. Remind me again why we couldn't just fly directly to the capital? Goku asked, high-s breath forming dense clouds in the frigid air. Bulma, similarly bundled in Water Tribe furs but with distinctive tech-enhanced goggles protecting her eyes from the glare, gestured toward the horizon. Northern Water Tribe airspace is protected by a network of watchtowers and ice spires. Any unauthorized aircraft would be intercepted immediately, and with the Fire Nation spreading rumors about a dangerous Avatar imposter, we'd likely be shot down before getting a chance to explain ourselves. Besides, Toph grumbled from her position atop the modified snow sledge, some of us prefer to keep our feet on solid ground. Despite being thoroughly wrapped in layers of fur, the earthbender's discomfort was evident in her scowling expression. Away from her element, surrounded by water in its frozen form, Toph's vision was severely compromised. We're following the traditional approach route, Chi-Chi explained, walking with practiced ease despite the challenging terrain. All diplomatic visitors enter through the Glacier Pass checkpoint. It's a matter of protocol and respect. Master Roshi nodded from his position at the rear of their group. The Northern Water Tribe has maintained stricter isolation than its southern counterpart, especially in recent decades. Their customs are ancient and must be honored if we hope to secure a waterbending master for your training. Goku accepted these explanations with his usual adaptability, though privately he found the diplomatic caution frustrating. In the months since discovering his Avatar identity, his progress with earthbending ooned. Toph's harsh tutelage had been remarkable. Even Chi-Chi had expressed surprise at how quickly he'd grasped fundamental firebending concepts during their afternoon sessions in jailing. But Bulma's intelligence network had reported increased Fire Nation activity across the Earth Kingdom. Wanted posters bearing Goku's likeness had appeared in every major city, forcing their departure from jailing sooner than planned. Master Roshi had insisted they continue Goku's elemental training in the proper sequence, which meant finding a waterbending master before his earthbending was fully mastered. There, Chi-Chi pointed toward a massive ice formation that had appeared through the swirling snow. Glacier Pass. The structure was unlike anything Goku had ever seen, a towering gateway of pure ice, at least 50 meters high, with intricate carvings depicting the history of the Water Tribe flowing across its gleaming surface. 2 enormous watchtowers flanked the pass, where blue-clad figures be seen monitoring the approach of visitors. Remember your cover story, Bulma reminded them as they drew closer. We're scholars researching ancient bending techniques, with permission from Chief Arnook to access the tribal archives. What if they've already heard about the Avatar's return? Goku asked. They almost certainly have, Master Roshi replied. But the Northern Water Tribe prizes neutrality in global conflicts. They'll be cautious about taking sides until they've assessed the situation for themselves. Toph snorted. Translation. They'll be watching us like hawk eagles while pretending they're not. As they approached the gateway, 4 waterbenders emerged from the guard stations, assuming defensive positions that were polite yet unmistakably vigilant. Their leader, a stern-faced man with intricate warrior's braids threaded through his dark hair, stepped forward. Halt and identify yourselves, he commanded. What brings outsiders to the Northern Water Tribe during the season of darkness? Master Roshi stepped forward, bowing in the traditional Water Tribe manner. I am Master Roshi of the Turtle School, recognized by the Council of 5 Elements. These are my colleagues and students. We seek audience with Chief Arnook regarding access to your cultural archives for scholarly research. The guard studied them with narrowed eyes, his gaze lingering on Goku's face. Your student bears a striking resemblance to the individual described in recent Fire Nation communications. The dangerous revolutionary falsely claiming avatar status. A tense silence fell over the group. Goku met the guard's scrutiny directly, neither confirming nor denying the observation. After a measured pause, Master Roshi spoke again. The Fire Nation has been known to disseminate misleading information when it serves their political interests. We seek only knowledge, not conflict. The guard captain appeared to weigh this statement, then made a subtle hand gesture to his colleagues. You will be escorted to the visitors' quarter and announced to the chief. He will determine whether to grant you audience. His tone hardened slightly. Your weapons and any Mechan ICAL devices will be held in safekeeping until your departure. Bulma opened her mouth to protest but was silenced by a warning look from Chi-Chi. We understand and respect your protocols, Chi-Chi said smoothly. Her formal diplomatic training evident in her perfect water tribe salutation. After surrendering their more obvious equipment, though Bulma managed to conceal several of her smaller tech devices within her elaborate winter clothing, they were led through the massive ice gateway into a sloping tunnel that descended deep into the glacier. The temperature dropped further as they progressed, the walls around them glowing with an ethereal blue light that seemed to emanate from the ice itself. Bioluminescent algae, Bulma murmured to Goku as she noticed his fascination with the glowing walls. Cultivated specifically for its light-producing properties and embedded within the ice structures. Just one example of how the water tribe has adapted to life in perpetual winter. After nearly a kilometer of gradual descent, the tunnel suddenly opened into a vast cavern that drew gasps of amazement from everyone except Toph, who could sense only vague vibrations through the sledge she rode upon. Welcome to Agna Kella, their escort announced with undisguised pride, capital city of the Northern Water Tribe. The city was a marvel of architectural ingenuity, a sprawling metropolis built entirely of ice and snow. Arranged in concentric tiers that descended toward a central plaza. Elaborate buildings with domed roofs and delicate spires lined canals of flowing water that had somehow been prevented from freezing. Bridges arched gracefully between different levels, while waterbenders moved effortlessly through the city, some using the canals for rapid transit, others maintaining and repairing structures with subtle movements that reshaped the very ice around them. Goku had never seen anything like it. Even the bustling Earth Kingdom cities had not prepared him for this lean yet beautiful environment where an entire civilization had adapted to conditions that would be lethal to unprepared outsiders. It's incredible, he breathed, eyes wide as he tried to absorb every detail. The Northern Water Tribe has maintained this city for thousands of years, Master Roshi explained quietly. While the rest of the world has industrialized, they've perfected the art of living in harmony with their element. Their escort led them down a series of sloping pathways toward a modest but elegantly constructed building near the middle tier of the city. The Visitor's Lodge, he explained. You will be accommodated here while the chief considers your request for audience. Do not attempt to explore the city unescorted. With that warning delivered, he and the other guards departed, leaving the companions alone in a circular chamber with several doorways leading to smaller rooms. The interior was surprisingly warm, heated by a central fire pit that burned with blue-tinged flames. Well, that went about as expected, Toph grumbled, finally shedding some of her furs now that they were indoors. They know exactly who you are, Spiky, and they're deciding what to do about it. At least they didn't turn us away outright, Bulma pointed out, removing her goggles and shaking out her blue hair. That's something. The Northern Tribe values information and strategic advantage, Chi-Chi observed. Methodically arranging her outer garments near the fire to dry. They'll want to assess the avatar situation for themselves before committing to any position. Goku moved to one of the ice block windows, gazing out at the alien cityscape. How long do you think we'll have to wait? That depends on tribal politics, Master Roshi settled cross-legged near the fire. Chief Arnook is known for careful deliberation. It could be hours or days. Days. Goku frowned. But we need to find a waterbending master as soon as possible. The Fire Nation is already. Shaw. RP knock at the main entrance interrupted him. The door slid open before anyone could respond, revealing a young woman in elaborate water tribe attire. Unlike the guards who had escorted them, her clothing featured intricate patterns in purple and silver alongside the traditional blues, marking her as someone of significant status. "The visitor protocols in this place are ridiculous," she announced without preamble, striding into the room with confident familiarity. 3 layers of bureaucracy just to speak with outsiders. No wonder we're becoming irrelevant to global politics. The company. Ons exchanged confused glances as the woman closed the door behind her and surveyed them with undisguised curiosity. Who are you?" Goku finally asked. The woman turned to him, bright blue eyes widening slightly as she took in his appearance. "So you're the one causing all the commotion." She approached without hesitation, circling him with evaluative interest. "You don't look like a dangerous revolutionary. But you definitely have that avatar energy about you." "You didn't answer my question," Goku pointed out, though he found himself more amused than offended by her direct manner. "Oh, right." She stopped her circling and faced him squarely. "I'm Korra, Master Waterbender, spiritual advisor to Chief Arnook, and your best chance at getting what you came for." She grinned, the expression transforming her serious face into something far more approachable. "I'm also probably going to get in trouble for being here, so let's make this quick." Master Roshi had risen at the woman's entrance and now bowed respectfully. "Master Korra, your reputation precedes you. We are honored by your visit." Korra waved away the formality. "Save the protocol, Master Roshi. I'm here because the spirit world has been in uproar since this one." She jerked a thumb toward Goku, started bending multiple elements. "The tribal elders want to deliberate for days, but we don't have that kind of time." "You believe I'm the Avatar?" Goku asked, surprised by her immediate acceptance. "Of course you are. I can see it plain as day." Korra's expression grew more serious. "The question isn't whether you're the Avatar. It's whether you're ready to be the Avatar the world needs right now." There was something in her directness that reminded Goku of Toph, though Korra's energy was more fluid, less grounded, water to Toph's earth. "That's what I'm trying to become," he said honestly. "I need to master the elements." "Elements are the easy part," Korra replied, surprising everyone. "Any bender with enough taint and training can manipulate their element. What makes the Avatar special isn't just bending all 4, it's understanding the spiritual connection between them, and between the physical and spirit worlds." She turned to address the entire group. "The elders will eventually grant you audience, but they'll insist on weeks of ceremonial preparations before allowing any actual waterbending instruction." Her eyes flashed with impatience. "Meanwhile, the spirit world grows more unstable every day, and dark forces are gathering in the physical world too." "You're referring to the energy disruptions," Bulma interjected, stepping forward with interest. "My instruments have been tracking them across multiple regions." "More than disruptions," Korra confirmed grimly. "Cheers. The boundary between worlds is weakening. And something is exploiting those weaknesses." She returned her attention to Goku. "Which is why we need to skip the diplomatic niceties and get straight to your training." "You're offering to teach me?" Goku brightened considerably. "Someone has to." Korra shrugged, though her casual tone couldn't quite mask the seriousness in her eyes. "And unlike most of the tribal masters, I've studied waterbending beyond our traditional forms. I've incorporated techniques from all 4 nations, which seems appropriate for teaching the Avatar." Chi-Chi stepped forward, her expression guarded. "The chief will not appreciate you circumventing proper protocols." "Probably not," Korra agreed cheerfully. "But he also knows better than to interfere with spiritual matters. Which is how I'll frame it when he inevitably discovers what we're doing." Master Roshi stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Your approach is unorthodox, Master Korra. So is having an adult Avatar who just discovered his identity." She countered. "Unorthodox times call for unorthodox methods." She turned to Goku. "So what do you say? Ready to learn waterbending from someone who doesn't believe in wasting time?" Goku's grin was answer enough. "When do we start?" "Right now. Grab your coat." Korra moved toward the door, then paused, glancing at Toph. "You're welcome to come too, Master Beifong. I've heard the stories about your teaching methods. Might be interesting to compare notes." Toph's unseeing eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Why not? Watching Spiky struggle with an element that's the opposite of Earth should be entertaining." "I'll come as well," Chi-Chi declared, already reaching for her outer garments. To observe. Korra raised an eyebrow but didn't object. The rest of you should stay here. A smaller group will attract less attention. Within minutes, Goku found himself following Korra through a series of narrow side passages that wound between the main thoroughfares of the Ice City. She moved with the confident familiarity of someone who had spent a lifetime navigating these frozen corridors, occasionally using subtle waterbending gestures to create temporary pathways where none existed before. Where exactly are we going? Chi-Chi asked as they descended a particularly steep ice stairway that seemed to lead beneath the city itself. The Spirit Oasis, Korra replied over her shoulder. The most spiritually significant location in the North Pole, and conveniently, the one place tribal guards rarely patrol. Because it's sacred, Goku guessed. Bako. Say it's technically under my jurisdiction as spiritual advisor, Korra corrected with a hint of smugness. One of the few perks of an otherwise thankless position. The stairway eventually opened into a tunnel that sloped gently downward, the ice walls gradually giving way to stone as they progressed deeper beneath the city. Unlike the main tunnel they had entered through, this passage was roughly hewn, with occasional marks suggesting it had been created through earthbending rather than waterbending. An escape route, Toph identified, her confidence returning now that she could see through the stone beneath her feet. Created during one of the Fire Nation invasion attempts, I'm guessing. Good eye, or whatever you use, Korra confirmed. This tunnel was created during the Siege of the North, almost 2 centuries ago. Most people have forgotten it exists, which makes it perfect for our purposes. After several minutes of walking, a warm glow began to suffuse the tunnel ahead, AC. Accompanied by a distinct shift in the air, from the dry cold of the ice tunnels to something remarkably humid and almost tropical. We're here, Korra announced as they rounded a final bend. The tunnel opened into a sight so unexpected that even Goku, who had been encountering one marvel after another since discovering his avatar status, found himself speechless with wonder. They stood at the edge of a small valley completely enclosed within the glacier, yet somehow filled with lush green grass, flowering plants, and even small trees that should have been impossible in the Arctic climate. A waterfall tumbled from an opening high in the ice wall, feeding a circular pond at the center of the grassy oasis. Steam rose gently from the water's surface, creating a perpetual mist that diffused the light filtering down from above. The Spirit Oasis, Korra said softly, her normally brash tone giving way to reverence. The most spiritually potent place in the Northern Tribe, and one of the few locations in the physical world where the boundary between realms naturally thins. It's warm, Goku marveled, already shedding his heavy coat. A natural hot spring combined with spiritual energy creates this microclimate, Korra explained, leading them toward the central pond. Water is the element of change and adaptability. Here, it defies the very nature of the Arctic environment to create something entirely different. As they approached the pond, Goku noticed 2 fish circling each other in an eternal dance, one white with a black spot, one black with a white spot. Tui and La, Master Roshi identified in a hushed voice. The moon and ocean spirits, who chose to live in the mortal world millennia ago. The original waterbenders, Korra added, kneeling respectfully at the pond's edge. All waterbending derives from their eternal dance. Push and pull, yin and yang, balance in perpetual motion. Goku knelt beside her, instinctively sensing the profound spiritual significance of the place. Since discovering his avatar identity, he had occasionally felt strange resonances, moments when something deeper and older than his conscious mind seemed to recognize or remember things he had never personally experienced. Here in the Spirit Oasis, that feeling intensified dramatically. I've been here before, he murmured, confused by the certainty of this impossible knowledge. Korra nodded, unsurprised. Many of your past lives visited this place. Avatar Aang had a particularly significant experience here during the Siege of the North. She studied him with renewed interest. You're beginning to access the memories of your past incarnations. That's good. It means your spiritual connection is strengthening. Is that why you brought me here? For spiritual training. That, and because it's the perfect place to begin waterbending instruction. Korra rose and moved to the edge of the pond, assuming a fluid stance that somehow reminded Goku of both flowing water and the circling fish. Water is the element of change and adaptation. Unlike Earth, which demands you stand your ground, water requires you to redirect energy rather than oppose it directly. Goku stood and mirrored her position, remembering how different earthbending had felt from his natural fighting style. Toph says I'm too light on my feet for a proper earthbender. Which probably means you, LL, have a natural affinity for waterbending, Korra suggested. The key is to let your energy flow like water, not forcing, but guiding. From her position observing nearby, Toph snorted. Don't go T, earning him into a spineless wimp who can't stand his ground. Balance, Master Beifong, Korra replied without taking her eyes off Goku. The Avatar needs all four elements, and the contrast in philosophies they embody. She raised her hands in a smooth, circular motion, drawing a small stream of water from the pond. Watch carefully. Feel the energy. Goku observed intently as Korra manipulated the water stream, guiding it through complex patterns around her body without ever touching it directly. Unlike the forceful, decisive movements of earthbending, her waterbending flowed in continuous motion, each movement connecting seamlessly to the next. Now you try, she instructed, returning the water to the pond. Start with the basic push and pull. Feel the connection between yourself and the water. Then extend your energy to guide it. Goku assumed the stance she had demonstrated and began the flowing arm movements, trying to shift his mental approach from the solid rootedness of earthbending to something more fluid. He focused on the pond's surface, extending his awareness toward it as he had learned to do with Earth. For several long moments, nothing happened. The water remained stubbornly still despite his increasingly determined movements. You're trying too hard, Korra observed. Water doesn't respond to force the way Earth does. You need to feel the natural flow and work with it, not against it. Perhaps a different approach, Chi-Chi suggested from where she had been quietly observing. Goku, think of how you manipulate ki energy. You don't force it, you channel it. The suggestion resonated with Goku. He closed his eyes briefly, recalling the familiar sensation of ki flowing through his body, not a rigid force but a current of energy that responded to his intention. When he opened his eyes again, he adjusted his stance slightly and tried once more, this time envisioning the water as an extension of his own energy field rather than a separate element to be commanded. The pond's surface trembled, then a small tendril of water rose hesitantly into the air, hovering unsteadily before his outstretched hand. Good, Korra encouraged. Now guide it, don't control it. Feel the water's natural tendency to flow downward and work with that tendency, redirecting it along a new path. Goku moved his hands in the circular pattern Korra had demonstrated, and to his delight, the water tendril followed, creating a wobbly but distinct loop in the air before him. As his confidence grew, the water's movement became smoother, responding more readily to his guidance. He's a natural, Korra remarked to the others, sounding both impressed and slightly suspicious. No one picks it up that quickly their first time. Goku has always had an unusual gift for adapting to new fighting techniques. Master Roshi commented. Combined with the Avatar's inherent connection to all elements, it's not entirely surprising. For the next hour, Korra guided Goku th. rough increasingly complex waterbending forms, focusing on the fundamental push-pull dynamic that governed the element. Unlike Toph's harsh, demanding teaching style, Korra's instruction flowed between demonstration, explanation, and adaptation, adjusting her approach based on Goku's responses. By the time she called for a break, Goku had progressed from simple water manipulation to creating ice formations and generating steam, basic phase transformations that normally took weeks for beginning waterbenders to master. You're advancing too quickly, Korra finally said, her earlier enthusiasm now tempered with concern. It's not natural. Goku lowered the water whip he had been practicing with, letting it splash back into the pond. Isn't fast progress a good thing? We're short on time, right? Yes, but, Korra frowned, studying him intently. Waterbending isn't just about moving water around. It's about understanding the philosophy behind the element, patience, adaptability, seeing multiple paths to a solution rather than forcing a single approach. Told you he was a quick study, Toph called from where she lounged on the grass. Same thing happened with earthbending. Got the basics in a day when it should have taken months. That's what worries me, Korra replied. The Avatar must understand each element deeply, not just technically master the forms. She turned back to Goku. You're learning the movements, But I'm not sure you're absorbing the underlying principle. What am I missing? Goku asked, genuinely wanting to understand. Korra considered for a moment, then gestured toward the circling koi fish. Waterbending isn't just about manipulating water. It's about understanding balance, cycles, the constant flow of energy between opposing forces. Her expression grew more serious. The Avatar, more than anyone, needs to understand this balance, not just between elements, but between worlds. You mentioned the spirit world is in turmoil, Bulma interjected. Is that connected to the energy disruptions I've been tracking? Directly, Korra confirmed. Something is systematically weakening the boundaries between physical and spirit realms, causing instabilities on both sides. She hesitated, then added, and I believe it's being done deliberately. A heavy silence fell over the group as they absorbed this troubling information. Why would anyone want to destabilize the spirit world? Chi-Chi finally asked. Power, Master Roshi said grimly. Throughout history, there have been those who sought to harness spiritual energy for their own purposes. Such attempts invariably end in disaster. Korra nodded agreement, which is why the Avatar's role as bridge between worlds is so crucial. It's not just about mastering elements, it's about maintaining the balance between physical and spiritual realities. She turned back to Goku with renewed determination. You need more than technical bending skill. You need spiritual awareness, a connection to your past lives and to the spirit world itself. How do I develop that? Goku asked. Meditation is the traditional path, Master Roshi began, but Korra shook her head. We don't have time for the traditional path. Not with the boundaries already weakening. She glanced toward the pond, a decision forming in her eyes. The spirit oasis offers another way. A more direct one. You're not suggesting. Chi-Chi started, alarm evident in her voice. A spirit journey, Korra confirmed. Here, where the veil between worlds is thinnest, Goku can cross over temporarily, make direct contact with the spirit world and possibly his past lives. Toph had straightened from her relaxed position, suddenly alert. That's risky, especially for someone with no previous spiritual training. Everything about this situation is risky. Korra countered. The Avatar cycle was disrupted for generations. Goku discovered his identity as an adult with no preparation. Meanwhile, something is systematically weakening the cosmic balance. She fixed Goku with an intense gaze. Sometimes the most dangerous path is the only viable one. Goku considered this for only a moment before nodding decisively. I'll do it. If understanding the spiritual side of being the Avatar will help me protect the balance, then that's what I need to learn. It's not that simple, Chi-Chi protested. Spirit journeys can be dangerous. Disorienting. Some who enter the spirit world never find their way back. With proper guidance, the risk is minimized, Korra assured her, though her expression remained serious. I've made the crossing hundreds of times. I can serve as anchor and guide. And what exactly do you hope to accomplish with this journey? Bulma asked, her scientific mind seeking concrete objectives. 3 things, Korra replied. First, to strengthen Goku's connection to his past lives, giving him access to their knowledge and experience. Second, to deepen his understanding of water as more than just a physical element. And third, her expression darkened slightly, to investigate what's causing the disturbances in the spirit world directly. She turned to Goku. It won't be like anything you've experienced before. The spirit world operates by different rules than the physical realm. Logic, time, even your identity may seem fluid there. Sounds interesting, Goku replied with characteristic optimism, earning an eye roll from Toph and a worried look from Chi-Chi. Then we'll proceed, Korra decided. But first, we should prepare. She reached into a small pouch at her waist. And produced several items. A vial of luminous blue liquid, a small carved pendant, and a pinch of what looked like silvery sand. Spirit water from the oasis, she explained, indicating the vial. A physical anchor to help you find your way back. She handed him the pendant. And moon dust, to help your spirit separate from your physical form more easily. As Korra made these preparations, instructing Goku to sit in a meditative position at the pond's edge, the others arranged themselves in a protective semicircle around them. Master Roshi assumed a meditation pose of his own, clearly intending to provide spiritual support. While Toph placed her hands firmly on the ground, extending her seismic sense to monitor for any physical threats. Chi-Chi and Bulma exchanged uncertain glances but took up positions that completed the circle. Ready? Korra asked, kneeling beside Goku at the water's edge. He nodded, his expression unusually solemn. What do I do? Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. Korra sprinkled the moon dust over the water before them, causing it to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Feel the boundary between yourself and the world around you, then imagine that boundary becoming thin, permeable. Quote. Goku closed his eyes, following her instructions. He regulated his breathing as Master Roshi had taught him years ago during key training, feeling his heartbeat slow and his awareness expand. The spirit world isn't somewhere else, Korra's voice continued, growing somehow both more distant and more resonant. It's right here, interwoven with our world but vibrating at a different frequency. You're not going somewhere new, you're simply shifting your perception to see what's already present. As she spoke, Goku became aware of a subtle change in the atmosphere around him. The ambient sounds of the oasis, the splash of the waterfall, the rustle of leaves, even the breathing of his companions, began to fade, replaced by a deep, resonant hum that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. That's it, Korra's voice encouraged, now sounding as if it came from underwater. Follow the resonance. Let it guide you across. Goku felt a peculiar sensation. Like his consciousness was gently detaching from his physical form, not in a frightening way, but as if he were removing a heavy coat he hadn't realized he was wearing. With each breath, the feeling intensified, until suddenly there was a subtle shift in his perception. You can open your eyes now, Korra said, her voice now perfectly clear again. Goku did so, then immediately froze in astonishment. The spirit oasis was still there, but profoundly transformed. Colors that had no names in human language suffused the landscape, while the plants and rocks seemed to pulse with inner light. The waterfall flowed not just with water but with liquid radiance that scattered into rainbow fragments where it met the pond. Most strikingly, the two koi fish had transformed into enormous, luminous dragon-like beings that continued their eternal circle dance above the water's surface. Tui and La, Korra identified, now standing beside him in this transformed reality. The moon and ocean spirits in their true forms. Goku turned to look at her and found another surprise. Korra appeared much as she had in the physical world, but now a soft blue aura surrounded her, and occasional ripples of light passed through her form, as if she were partially composed of flowing water. What's happening to you? He asked, his voice sounding strange to his own ears, deeper and somehow layered with echoes. Spirit forms reflect inner nature, she explained. As a waterbender with strong spiritual connections, this is how the spirit world perceives me. She gestured toward a still pool of water nearby. Look at yourself. Goku approached the pool and gasped at his reflection. His normal appearance remained, but his eyes glowed with white-blue light, and around his form, FTing silhouettes appeared and disappeared, outlines of different people, different ages and builds, both men and women, all somehow connected to his central form. Your past lives, Korra explained. In the spirit world, the connections between avatar incarnations become visible. She studied him with renewed interest. Though yours appear fragmented, disrupted, that confirms the avatar cycle was broken for a time. Can I communicate with them? Goku asked, fascinated by the shifting shadows that seemed to echo his movements. That's partly why we're here, Korra confirmed. But first, we should move deeper into the spirit world. This transitional zone still carries too much influence from the physical realm. She led him away from the transformed spirit oasis, following a path that hadn't existed before, a winding trail of luminous stones that seemed to respond to their footsteps by brightening momentarily before fading back to a gentle glow. As they walked, the landscape grew increasingly surreal. Trees twisted into impossible shapes, their branches supporting flowering vines that changed color with each passing breeze. Small spirit creatures, some resembling animals from the physical world, others entirely alien in form, watched their passage with intelligent, curious eyes. The spirit world responds to emotion and intention more than physical action, Korra explained as they walked. Fear attracts negative spirits and can transform the landscape into something threatening. Calm confidence creates a safer path. It's incredible, Goku marveled, taking in the fantastical surroundings. Despite the strangeness, he felt an odd sense of familiarity, as if part of him recognized this realm. We're approaching the borders of the previous avatar's domains, Korra aid as the path led them toward a circular clearing surrounded by massive trees whose branches intertwined overhead to form a natural dome. Each avatar creates a spiritual space that reflects their nature and experiences. Connecting with these spaces will help you access their knowledge. In the center of the clearing stood a pool of perfectly still water, its surface mirror smooth and reflectant. Not the tree canopy above but a star-filled sky that wasn't physically present. The pool of reflection, Korra identified. A nexus point where past avatars can be contacted. She gestured for him to approach. Look into the water and focus on calling forth your most recent predecessor. Goku knelt beside the pool, gazing into its depths. The star reflections seemed to swirl and shift, ching into patterns that almost formed a face before dissolving again. I don't know who I'm looking for, he admitted. I don't even know the name of the avatar before me. That knowledge should come instinctively, Korra frowned. The disruption in the cycle must be interfering. She knelt beside him. Try a different approach. Rather than seeking a specific predecessor, open yourself to WHOEV. Can establish the strongest connection. Goku nodded and relaxed his focus, allowing his awareness to expand outward like ripples on water. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the pool's surface began to glow. And a figure rose from its depths, not physically emerging from the water, but forming like a three-dimensional projection composed of light and mist. An elderly man with a long white beard and Fire Nation robes materialized before them, his expression stern yet compassionate. Though transparent and composed of light, he seemed solid enough as he regarded Goku with penetrating eyes. Avatar Roku, Korra breathed, clearly surprised. The Fire Nation avatar from 4 cycles ago. I am the most recent avatar with whom a clear connection could be established, Roku explained. His voice resonating with age and power. The cycle was indeed broken after my successor, Aang. Something interfered with the natural progression of the avatar spirit. What happened? Goku asked, instinctively feeling this was crucial information. Roku's expression grew troubled. During Avatar Aang's lifetime, a great imbalance arose. Technology began to overshadow spirituality. New energies were discovered and exploited without understanding their connection to the cosmic balance. The discovery of key manipulation and its technological applications, Korra surmised. Roku nodded gravely. What had once been the secret knowledge of a few martial arts masters became widely studied and eventually commercialized. The harnessing of life energy for industrial and military purposes created a ripple effect that distorted the avatar cycle. But why wouldn't the next avatar still be born? Goku pressed. The avatar spirit became fragmented, Roku explained, gesturing with one translucent hand. The pool beneath him rippled, showing fleeting images of conflict and machines drawing energy from the earth itself. Instead of passing cleanly to the next vessel, it scattered, parts of it returning to the spirit world, other parts becoming trapped in devices designed to harness elemental energy. The convergence generators, Korra whispered, horrified recognition in her voice. The machines the United Republic developed after the 100-Year War. Precisely, Roku confirmed. Though created with benevolent intentions, to provide clean energy by tapping into the natural flow of elemental forces, these devices inadvertently captured fragments of the avatar spirit, preventing it from reincarnating properly. He turned his attention fully to Goku. For 3 generations, the avatar existed in a dispersed state, unable to fulfill its purpose. Only recently, with the decommissioning of many of these devices and a resurgence of spiritual awareness in certain regions, was the spirit able to reconstitute itself sufficiently to be reborn. In me, Goku said, understanding dawning. Yes, but the reconstitution remains incomplete, Roku cautioned. You possess the fundamental essence of the avatar spirit, but many of its memories and accumulated wisdom remain scattered. That is why your connection to past lives is fragmented. Can these fragments be recovered? Korra asked. It may be possible, Roku allowed. But to do so would require locating the remaining convergence generators and performing a ritual of spiritual reunification at each site. His expression grew more severe. However, there are those who now seek these fragments for their own purposes, entities who understand that controlling pieces of the avatar spirit grants tremendous power over elemental forces. Frieza, Goku said with sudden certainty, the name rising from some deep intuition. The leader of the Planet Trade Organization. Roku's transparent form flickered slightly, suggesting the name held significance. I do not know this entity by name, but I sense a darkness gathering, a force that seeks not balance but dominion. It hunts the fragments of the Avatar spirit with growing urgency. Which explains the weakening boundaries between worlds, Korra concluded. Extracting Avatar spirit fragments from the convergence generators would create exactly the kin D of spiritual disruptions we've been experiencing. Roku nodded solemnly. The balance between worlds has already been severely compromised. If this force succeeds in capturing enough fragments before you can reclaim them, then I'll never reach my full potential as the Avatar, Goku finished. Worse, Roku's form began to fade slightly, the connection weakening. If enough fragments are extracted and misused, the damage to the cosmic balance could become irreparable. The boundaries between worlds would collapse entirely, creating catastrophe in both the spirit and physical realms, Korra added grimly. I have maintained this connection as long as possible, Roku said, his form growing increasingly transparent. But my energy wanes. Before I depart, know this, Avatar Goku, your unusual mastery of key energy alongside elemental bending is not coincidental. It represents the Avatar spirit adapting to a world where both forces must be brought into harmony. Wait, Goku called as Roku began to disappear. How do I find these fragments? How do I restore the full Avatar spirit? Seek the convergence sites, Roku's voice echoed, now little more than a whisper. Trust your instincts. The fragments will resonate with your own spirit when you draw near. And beware the false Avatar. With those cryptic final words, Roku's form dissolved completely, leaving only ripples across the pool of reflection's surface. False Avatar, Goku repeated, looking to Korra for explanation. Her expression was troubled. If Frieza or whoever is behind this has collected significant fragments of the Avatar spirit, they might be able to manifest limited Avatar abilities. Not the true balance of all elements, but perhaps enough power to pose as a corrupted version of the Avatar. Goku absorbed this disturbing possibility. So I need to find these fragments before this Frieza does. But where do I even start looking? Before Korra could respond, the spirit world around them shuddered violently. The peaceful clearing darkened, and the trees surrounding them seemed to twist into more threatening forms, their branches reaching downward like grasping hands. Something's wrong, Korra said sharply, rising to her feet. The spirit world doesn't change this dramatically unless... A discordant shriek cut through the air, and the sky above them rippled with unnatural colors. In the distance, a column of sickly purple light erupted skyward. They're extracting another fragment, Korra realized. Right now, we need to. The ground beneath them heaved suddenly, throwing both off balance. Cracks appeared in the earth, leaking the same purple energy that corrupted the sky. The boundary is destabilizing, Korra shouted over the increasing cacophony of disturbed spirits. We need to return to our bodies immediately, or we risk being trapped here during a major disruption. She grabbed Goku's arm, her touch surprisingly solid in this realm of shifting perceptions. Focus on your physical form. Remember the spirit oasis, the pond, the feel of the grass beneath you. Goku tried to concentrate as instructed, but the violent disturbances in the spirit world made it difficult to maintain focus. Wind that carried whispering voices whipped around them, while the path they had followed shattered into fragments that rose into the air like broken glass. It's not working, he called to Korra, who maintained her grip on his arm with grim determination. Plan B then, she decided. Without further explanation, she pulled him toward one of the cracks in the ground that glowed with purple energy. We'll use their disruption against them. These tiers lead directly back to the physical world, just not necessarily where we entered from. You mean we could end up anywhere? Goku asked, eyeing the unstable-looking rift with understandable concern. Better than being trapped in a spirit world undergoing catastrophic realignment, Korra replied grimly. Just stay close to me. Our physical bodies will pull our spirits back to the spirit oasis eventually, but we may experience detours. Before Goku could question this plan further, the clearing around them collapsed entirely, forcing them to leap into the pulsing purple tear in reality. The sensation was entirely different from their gentle entry to the spirit world, instead of a subtle shift in perception, Is felt like being violently yanked through layers of reality, each one scraping against his consciousness like sandpaper. Colors, sounds, and sensations blurred into an overwhelming torrent of information. Goku caught fragmentary glimpses of places and times, a volcano erupting into a night sky, a vast metal city gleaming under multiple suns, a battlefield where benders and warriors wielded both elements and ki in desperate combat. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the chaotic journey ended. Goku found himself standing on solid ground again, but not in the spirit oasis where his physical body remained. Instead, he stood in what appeared to be a massive laboratory facility, his form translucent and ghost-like, present enough to observe but unable to interact with the physical environment. "Where are we?" he whispered to Korra, who had materialized beside him in a similarly spectral state. "Physically, no idea. Temporally, also unclear," she admitted, glancing around with professional curiosity. Spirit disruptions can send consciousness sliding across both space and time. This could be happening right now, or it might be a past or future event that resonates with the current disruption. The laboratory extended farther than they could see, filled with enormous machines housing swirling energies in containment fields. Scientists in unfamiliar uniforms moved between workstations, monitoring readings and adjusting controls. At the center of the facility stood a particularly massive device, a towering cylinder of metal and crystal that pulsed with the same purple energy they had seen corrupting the spirit world. A convergence generator, Korra identified in a hushed voice. And not one of the original models. "This is something new, designed specifically for spirit energy extraction." Before Goku could respond, a door at the far end of the laboratory slid open, and a figure entered that caused both spirit visitors to tense instinctively. Even from a distance, there was something profoundly wrong about the newcomer. Tall and slender, with pale skin that seemed almost porcelain-like in its perfection, he moved with unnatural grace. His appearance was vaguely reptilian yet humanoid, with a smooth, dome-like head and facial features that seemed carefully crafted to approximate human expressions without quite succeeding. Most disturbing was the aura that surrounded him, a sickly mixture of purple and black energy that writhed and pulsed like a living thing. "Lord Frieza," one of the scientists greeted, bowing deeply. "The extraction process is proceeding as scheduled. We've isolated the fragment and are preparing for transfer." "Excellent," Frieza replied, his voice cultured and almost pleasant, creating a jarring contrast with his alien appearance. "This fragment is particularly valuable. It contains elemental affinities from multiple avatar cycles." He approached the central machine, running a slender hand almost lovingly along its surface. "How many does this make?" 7 confirmed fragments recovered, my lord," the scientist reported. "Our models suggest we need at least 12 for the unification process to succeed. And our agents have located 3 more convergence generators," Frieza noted with satisfaction, "including the primary node at Republic City." He turned to face another figure who had entered behind him, a human woman with sharp features and calculating eyes. Dressed in elaborate Fire Nation military attire, Princess Azula has been most helpful in identifying sites connected to previous avatars' significant spiritual events, Frieza continued. Her knowledge of Fire Nation history has proven invaluable. The woman, apparently Azula, inclined her head slightly, acknowledging the praise without displaying either pride or humility. The royal archives contained records that were never made public. Avatar Roku's connection to my ancestor, Fire Lord Sozin, ensured detailed documentation of his activities. "And what of our other problem?" Frieza inquired, his tone hardening slightly. "The new avatar, still in the Northern Water Tribe, according to our latest intelligence," Azula reported. "Learning waterbending, apparently. His progress is reportedly rapid." Frieza's expression remained neutral, but the energy aura around him darkened noticeably. "Unfortunate. I had hoped the disruptions in the spirit world would slow his development. No matter. By the time he masters the elements, we will have collected enough fragments to proceed with the ascension." "We've encountered an unexpected complication," Azula added. "Our sensors detected a significant spiritual event at the Northern Spirit Oasis several hours ago. It appears the Avatar has made contact with the spirit world directly." For the first time, Frieza's composed demeanor slipped, revealing a flash of genuine concern. That was not supposed to be possible at his level of development. "Who is guiding him?" A Water Tribe spiritual advisor named Korra, Azula replied. She has a reputation for unorthodox approaches to spirit world interactions. Beside Goku, the spectral Korra stiffened at hearing her name. They're monitoring us, she whispered. This must be happening now, in real time. Frieza turned abruptly, his gaze sweeping the laboratory in a way that suggested he sensed something amiss. For a heart-stopping moment, his eyes seemed to focus directly on where Goku and Korra stood in their spirit forms. We have visitors, he said softly, a chilling smile spreading across his face. How fascinating. The Avatar's spiritual projection, accompanied by his Water Tribe teacher. He made a subtle gesture, and the purple energy from the central machine surged, forming tendrils that reached toward the invisible observers. He can see us, Goku realized with alarm. How is that possible? The fragments he's already collected, Korra hissed, backing away from the approaching energy. They're giving him heightened spiritual awareness. We need to leave, now. Oh, but you've only just arrived, Frieza called, clearly able to hear them as well. And after coming all this way, wouldn't you like to see what I'm building? He gestured expansively toward the central machine. The future of both worlds, Avatar. A unified reality where spirit and matter become one, under proper guidance, of course. He's stalling, Korra warned. Trying to trap our spirits here while he locks onto our physical location. Goku could feel the truth of her warning. The purple energy was beginning to form a circle around them, creating a barrier that would prevent their escape. One question before we go, he called to Frieza, buying time as he searched for a way out. Why? What do you gain by destabilizing the balance between worlds? Frieza's smile widened, revealing teeth too perfect and uniform to be natural. Evolution, dear Avatar, the next step in cosmic development. For too long, the artificial separation between physical and spiritual energies has limited what life forms can achieve. He spread his arms, the purple aura around him intensifying. Imagine a being who exists simultaneously in both realms, harnessing the full spectrum of energies. Not just bending elements, but reshaping reality itself. You're talking about becoming a god, Korra said with disgust. Such a primitive term, Frieza dismissed. I prefer to think of it as transcendence. His expression hardened, something the Avatar system was designed to prevent. The so-called balance you protect is actually a limitation, a CAG. Around what consciousness could become. The energy circle tightened around them, and Goku could feel an uncomfortable pulling sensation, as if the machine was attempting to extract his very essence. Enough talk, Korra decided. Focus on your physical body, Goku. The connection is still there, just obscured by his interference. Goku closed his eyes, concentrating on the sensation of his physical form waiting in the spirit oasis. For a moment, nothing happened, the pulling sensation from Frieza's machine growing stronger. Then, drawing on the techniques Master Roshi had taught him for key manipulation, he visualized his energy flowing back along the tenuous thread that connected his spirit to his body. No, Frieza's voice sounded suddenly urgent. Contain them. Full extraction protocol. The laboratory scene began to fade around them, the purple energy making a final lunge toward their dissipating forms. Goku felt a sharp, painful tug, as if something had latched onto a piece of his spirit and was trying to tear it away. He instinctively channeled ki energy to reinforce his spiritual integrity, creating a golden barrier that severed the grasping tendril. There was a sensation of rapid movement, a disorienting blur of images and sensations, and then, Goku gasped, his eyes flying open as his consciousness slammed back into his physical body with jarring force. He found himself still sitting at the edge of the spirit oasis pond, the peaceful surroundings a stark contrast to the laboratory they had just escaped. Master Roshi, Toph, Chi-Chi, and Bulma were gathered around him and Korra. Their expressions concerned. They're back, Toph announced, feeling the change in their breathing and heartbeats. About time. You've been out for hours. Beside him, Korra also returned to consciousness, looking considerably more drained than when they had begun the journey. That was not how spirit journeys usually end, she managed, accepting a water skin that Chi-Chi offered. What happened? Master Roshi asked, his normally jovial expression replaced by grave concern. The water in the pond began to turn purple, and both of your physical forms started to emanate strange energy. We saw him, Goku said, still processing the encounter. Frieza, and what he's doing. We saw a lot more than that, Korra added grimly. The Avatar spirit was fragmented after Avatar Aang, scattered across convergence generators that were built to harness elemental energy. Frieza is systematically collecting these fragments for some kind of transcendence process. He wants to become a being that exists in both the physical and spirit worlds simultaneously, Goku continued, recalling Frieza's chilling explanation. To harness all forms of energy, elemental, spiritual, and ki. Bulma's scientific curiosity was immediately engaged. That's theoretically impossible. The vibrational frequencies of spiritual and physical matter are fundamentally incompatible. Any attempt to force unification would result in catastrophic energy release. Which might be exactly what he wants, Master Roshi suggested soberly. Some seek transcendence through destruction, believing EY can rebuild reality to their specifications after breaking the existing order. Chi-Chi, who had been watching Goku with concern, finally spoke. Did you learn anything about how to stop him? Vatar Roku said I need to reclaim the fragments before Frieza collects them all, Goku replied, rolling his shoulders to ease the lingering stiffness from his extended spirit journey. The fragments will apparently resonate with my own spirit when I'm near them. So we need to locate these convergence generators before Frieza's people do, Bulma concluded, already pulling out one of her scanning devices. I might be able to recalibrate my energy detectors to identify the specific frequency pattern of Avatar spirit fragments, especially if they resonate with Goku's energy signature. We should start with Republic City, Korra suggested. Frieza mentioned a primary node there. If it contains a significant fragment, securing it would both strengthen Goku and hinder Frieza's plans. Toph, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. Did anyone else notice the Princess Azula part of that conversation? Because last I checked, the Fire Nation hasn't had a princess by that name in over a century. Azula was the sister of Fire Lord Zuko. During Avatar Aang's time, Master Roshi confirmed, his expression troubled. She was a firebending prodigy, but ultimately succumbed to mental instability. Historical records indicate she died in confinement at a young age. Well, either history got it wrong, or there's some serious name recycling in the Fire Nation royal family, Toph retorted. Because the woman I heard through Goku's description sounded very much alive and very much a problem. Chi-Chi frowned thoughtfully. There are rumors in the Fire Nation about Kret bloodlines, branches of the royal family that were officially removed from succession records but continued to exist in the shadows. It's possible this Azula is a descendant who has taken the name of her infamous ancestor. Or, Korra suggested with obvious reluctance, the spirit world disruptions are having even more serious consequences than we realized. Boundaries between past, present, and future are becoming unstable. What if historical figures are somehow being brought forward? A heavy silence fell as they considered this disturbing possibility. One crisis at a time, Goku finally said, rising to his feet with characteristic determination. First, I need to master waterbending. Then we head to Republic City to secure that Avatar fragment. Korra nodded approvingly. Good. Focus on what's directly before you. She stood as well, though with visible effort. The spirit journey drained more energy than I expected. We should rest before continuing your training. We may not have that luxury. Master Roshi cautioned. If Frieza sensed your spiritual presence in his facility, he now knows exactly where you are. The Northern Water Tribe may soon find itself facing unwelcome visitors. As if summoned by his words, a low, resonant boom echoed through the cavern, causing ripples across the spirit oasis pond. Then another, and another, a rhythm that could only be one thing. War drums. Chi-Chi identified, her posture instantly shifting to alert readiness. The tribe is signaling an approaching threat. So much for the diplomatic approach, Toph remarked dryly, cracking her knuckles. Guess we're doing this the fun way after all. Korra was already moving toward the tunnel that led back to the city, her earlier exhaustion seemingly forgotten in the face of immediate danger. We need to return to the surface. If Frieza's forces are attacking the northern tribe because of us, I have a responsibility to help defend it. We all do, Goku agreed, falling into step beside her. The others quickly gathered their belongings and followed, leaving the tranquil spirit oasis behind as they raced toward what promised to be their first direct confrontation with the forces seeking to reshape the balance between worlds. As they navigated the tunnels leading back to the Ice City, Goku found his mind returning to the laboratory vision and Frieza's disturbing words about transcendence. The enemy they faced wasn't just seeking power for its own sake, he truly believed he was pursuing the next step in cosmic evolution. That kind of conviction made for a dangerous adversary, but it also suggested a fundamental misunderstanding of the balance the Avatar was meant to protect. Balance wasn't limitation, Goku realized. It was the foundation that made all life possible, and as the Avatar, newly awakened to his responsibilities, he would defend that balance, not just because it was his duty, but because he now understood its true importance. The war drums continued their ominous rhythm as they emerged into the pale Arctic daylight, where the peaceful Ice City was rapidly transforming into a fortress preparing for siege. Whatever came next, Goku knew Hi's journey as the Avatar had now entered a new and more dangerous phase. The time for training in isolation was over. The battle for balance had begun. Chapter 3 End. The End. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.